As the leader of the Booner Path, I lead from the front.
All right, boys. Lock in.
It's our core foundation, man. Grit.
I'm fired up. I'm fired the f*** up, boys.
It's pumping right now. It's got my juices pumping, boys.
Welcome to Crunch Time Sports with Jeff, Booner, Lukas, and Gentry, and Caleb, by the way. Shout out to Caleb. You did a great job on Sunday. We are live. It is Monday, October 21st. And I have
Update that calendar. Update that calendar.
And I have the stream on. I don't know if you heard that. What a game. The Lions took down the undefeated Minnesota Vikings, undefeated 5-0. Lions go into their house 4-1 and take them out. I mean, you got the Kool-Aid. I mean, this is.
Hey, Lions, baby! Hey, little victory Monday, boys, huh? Hey, you guys already. Hey,
not the. This is a tradition now, right? I mean, with the Kool-Aid and the beer mix. I mean, that's.
Hey, victory Monday, baby! Lions are the best.
It's real American beer, Booner. I mean, at least you're drinking the right.
Hey,
beer.
real American beer. Official beer of Crunch Time Sports. Hey, victory Monday, boys. Hey, all those Minnesota Vikings fans that were in my comment section the whole time when I drink the Kool-Aid, don't worry. I'm going to go back and screenshot every single one of those. I'm going to go back and look at all the comments. We run the NFC North. You guys are trash. The Minnesota Vikings are trash. Klotz, what did I say in the video? And you said, no, Booner, stand on it. What did I say?
NFC North champions. Lock it.
Lock it.
Lock it, Boone.
Lock it. Lock it. The best team in the NFC North, the best team in the NFC, the 1 seed. What a beautiful day, boys. I'm sorry. Hey, got to get a different Booner today.
Yeah, this is like victory Monday, Booner. I like this. I do. We got a lot of
How about the people in the chat, too, huh? Hey, everyone in the chat, give yourself a round of applause for, hey, we're all winners here. We're not Minnesota Vikings fans. Where's the music at? Juicy J, let's go.
You missed it. You missed it, bro. You were out there feeling your
I tried to do the Chris Collinsworth slide in. I just waited too long.
Over-under on that's got to be like 15 seconds, Boone.
Yeah, that was on me, dude. I was like sitting on the side, like looking like, when should I come in? When should I come in? And we're at 10K. That real American. Here we go.
Hey, by the way, I do want to say as Booner.
I love this.
Today,
what a day.
We appreciate all of you, man. We're at 10K. Now we're at 10.1K. The support has been unbelievable since we first started this. Yes. It is massive. And we've gotten to this point because of you guys. So thank you for helping us reach 10K. It's massive. We're excited. I mean, I really, to reach a goal, hey, boys, we're doing this because we love it. And now the fact that we're here with 10,000 people subscribe to us, and a lot of people that purchase merchandise, a lot of people that follow our social media, we're very blessed. So thank you guys for all the wishes. I saw a lot of comments, couldn't respond to all of them, but just know we love you and we appreciate you. So that is huge. 10,000.
Shout out to people at the end. Like, I love, as much as sometimes I go back and forth with the comment section, I've always said this, and shout out Freddie too for there, because I've talked to Freddie a lot. And I've always considered myself a man of the people. I said, like last year, I was calling myself the people's champ with the Booner Path and all of that. So I love the people so much, whether we go at it or not. I love the people, and those are the people. Everyone here in the chat, Coach Walk, all of the people there are the support that support us. What was it? How long ago since we started this? About 9 months ago. You guys know this. Hey, what was I told? I'm not going to say the exact line that I was told, but I was essentially told, hey, you're not going to make it out there. It's not going to happen. You're going to go out in this world of content in Detroit, and you're going to fall flat on your face, is what I was told. And we're sitting here today, October 21st, 2024. The Lions are 5-1. Jared Goff's in an MVP conversation.
Yes.
The Lions are the best team in the NFL. Not going to talk about Michigan football. And we're at 10,000 subs. And you know what? I texted the boys today. I said, guess what? Next goal, double, 20K, and then 40K, and then 80K, and 120. And we're going to keep going, boys. And Freddie, I didn't mean to single you out. I love Freddie. Freddie, when we're nice, Freddie came in and did a show at one point. Freddie's an absolute OG, man.
Yeah, shout out,
he's
man.
Like,
shout out to the
he's
people.
like the leader of the Booner Path Army. That's what Freddie is.
Yes,
that's
your
general. That's your general, Boone.
It is. Yep.
I see Coach Walk. Hey, Coach Walk, by the way, Coach Walk, I didn't get to respond to your comment, but We love you. Coach has been supporting us. Same with Shift and a lot of other people, man, since the very beginning. Anakin, ETN, all of you guys. I know and there's plenty more that I haven't named, but you know who you are. We love you. And to the new people, welcome. We have a lot to get to today, fellas. Lions victory, huge victory, not just a victory, huge victory. You beat an undefeated team at home, on the road, actually. And there's a lot of storylines that came out of that game. We'll get to it all. I mean, the fact that we had Tyler Forness on, who covers the Vikings, and he's pretty confident. I think it's a pretty friendly word to use. You weren't there, Klotzy, on Friday, but he was confident. I mean, I don't know if you got a chance to watch the segment, but he was pretty confident. He was pretty confident. People didn't like that. I think we had like 300 comments on the video, which is a lot of people. It was almost, I think it was like 400 people commenting. Let Tyler know how they feel. And Booner, you even suggested the game would be high scoring, and it ended up being high scoring. So
with that, was it pretty?
You were right. You were right about that. Right. So to Tyler, shout out to him. Appreciate you, and for the victory, because that was awesome, man. The Lions to beat not just any team, but their first division game, undefeated opponent, a team that many had above the Lions in many power rankings, including myself, for a lot of this season. Given how they've played, I mean, they beat up on the Texans, they beat up on the 49ers, and when the Lions faced them, all that went out the window, and the better team won. And the Lions were without the best defensive player in the National Football League this year, Aiden Hutchinson, the way he was playing, and they still got it done.
Yep.
It's incredible. The healthier team lost. And remember the Rams fans, injuries. The Seahawks fans, injuries. Dallas fans, injuries. Vikings fans, you don't got a thing. You lost at home against a team that many Vikings fans were confident they were going to beat. And it didn't happen that way. Shout out to Jake Bates. Massive kick.
Yeah.
Massive
big
kick.
time from him, man.
Big time kick from him. But I think, boys, that was the best offensive game that we've seen. I know that we saw Dallas, but going back to what Jeff said, a healthy Minnesota Vikings defense, a defense that Brian Flores looked like a guru all year long. In the first half, you couldn't get anything from him. And in that second quarter, the Detroit Lions just took off, and it looked like Brian Flores had no clue what was going on for him. Shout out to Deshae Townsend. I think he deserves a ton of credit for the way he has that secondary playing right now. Brian Branch, I'm sure Booner's going to get into it a little bit more in a second. The best safety in all of the NFL right now, the most well-rounded safety in the NFL, the way that Terrion held his own, the way that Carlton held his own. Neither Justin Jefferson or Jordan Addison went over 100 yards, and I thought one of those two were bound to. I know Aaron Jones was a problem in the run game, but that was kind of something that you expected to see exposed early on, especially with no Aiden Hutchinson, that Kevin O'Connell, they were going to scheme for it, and they had some success. But at the end of the day, when you have Jared Goff, Jahmyr Gibbs, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and that offense playing the way that they did, there's no one in the NFL, not a single team, when you look around the landscape of the NFL, because you look at the Chiefs, the way that they don't have Rashee Rice or Isaiah Pacheco, I think this Lions team, even without Aiden Hutchinson currently, could go to head-to-head and beat anybody. So this was it was a must-win, especially for the NFC North. But the Minnesota Vikings, hats off to them. They're the team that will always be a quarterback away. They have a great roster every year, but they're always a quarterback away, whether it's Brett Favre in the late term, whether it's Kirk Cousins, whether it's Sam Darnold, whether it's Case Keenum. They'll always be a quarterback away, and until they figure that out, the Detroit Lions are going to continue to beat them.
Yep. Well said.
Yeah, you know what? I said it on the stream yesterday when we were live. I said it in the post game. I'll say it a million times. I said it last week. The Detroit Lions are the best team in football, and coming into a victory Monday. And I took a lot of backlash a couple weeks ago saying that I thought they were the best team in football. And then after Aiden Hutchinson went down, I was like, all right, I need to see it a little. But then it's like even then, it's like they're still the best team in football. You have the number one offense in the football, guys. Like this team, I don't think people understand a little bit. And I think like national media, what they don't wrap their heads around sometimes and what people hate to take in consideration is the culture and like what these teams are like. How is this built internally? And when you listen to guys like Dan Campbell speak and say how this is the best team and he loves his football team out of any team he's ever been on or played on or coached on, and like this team is all one, you never see that with Pat. Like you've seen it with Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs at times, but like this year, you're not seeing that with them. You're not seeing that. Look at this Eagles team. There's just always something bad going on. The 49ers team, they don't have any culture. They have no clue what's going on. The Ravens still are trying to figure out in the playoffs. They can't figure out a culture to be able to get this thing done and get a Super Bowl. They've been going at it for years. The Lions are probably, if I had to say this, if you're talking about the culture with the talent, everything combined, they're the number one team in the NFL, and then there is a gap. Like, take away everything when it comes to just like you lost Aiden Hutchinson, all this, that. Like, no, like this team plays together. Whether they have their best player, they have their worst player, whether they're missing 2 or 3 guys. Like, guys, we've seen games without multiple defensive players, without Brian Branch and Kirby and Terrion and all these, like, well, not Terrion, but you know what I mean? Like, without Anzo. Like, we have seen this team without big-time players, and they still win football games because they are so just – I'm trying to think of the word to even explain it. By the way, my glasses are absolutely shining today. I washed them. I washed them really – I went in and washed them all. These things are, look at that, they're glowing. But no, guys, as a whole, as one, this Lions team, like whether you have an injury or not, it's hard to stop any team, any sport when they're playing as one. And they all feel like they're one big family. And they're able to trust and lean on each other. And kind of, hey, if one guy goes down, we can lean on another guy. And I'll pick up your slack here. Like, that's what this team has that other teams in the NFL do not have right now. And that's hard to come by in the NFL. That's why I think this team is special. I don't know. And you know what? I'm not going to – we have a segment later about Super Bowl favorites and all of that. But, I mean, this Lions team, guys, I get more confident every week. And there were a lot of people week 2, week 3, week 4 who questioned this football team and questioned them big time about things, which I think is fair at times. You can question, but to question like, hey, are they actually contenders? Can they actually, like, yeah, they are. Like, guys, when you have Dan Campbell at the helm, I don't know if anyone's noticed, this man is elite. He's a top 3 head coach in the NFL right now. No one's touching him. Only Andy Reid and maybe Kyle Shanahan. Look at what Kyle Shanahan's doing with that team. He's struggling right now. So it's like, it might be like Andy Reid and Dan Campbell at the moment. And that's just, I don't think that's like an understatement or an over-exaggeration. Like, Dan has had this team ready to go. Jake Bates, like, that addition, the Tim Patrick edition, everything.
Ooh, Timmy P.
Guys, like, this football team's the real deal. Remember what I said last week? I know Hutch went down. This is still the best team in football with or without Aiden Hutchinson. I know it sucks because you're like, dude, imagine if Aiden Hutchinson was on this team right now. Imagine that. Imagine. It's unbelievable, guys. I love this football team. I can't wait for this season to get rolling because people, like, we have the Titans. Let's go beat the Titans by 30. You're 12.5-point favorites. Beat that by 30. Rudolph? Set the tone before the Texans and Packers.
Last time Mason Rudolph saw this team, it was in Pittsburgh, and it was, what, a 16-16 tie?
Oh, my God.
Yeah. This is one of the ugliest games you'll ever see. Completely different team now. Better than that Will Levis out there, Boone.
I will say, and I can't wait to break that game down. I mean, 12.5-point favorites. That's at home, ridiculous. Well, it'll be fun. But honestly, everything you said, to your point, Booner, I will say, we do go back and forth about the coach and where he ranks and stuff like that. But Dan Campbell's been doing an excellent job.
Tell me, currently in the NFL, he's the second best head coach. And currently, like in today's state.
Well, like I said, he's doing a good job. He's doing a very
as of right now.
Who would you say? Who would you say, Jeff?
Andy Reid and Dan Campbell.
I don't want to get into this.
They're out coaching everyone. Like Dan Campbell out coaching everyone.
It's gonna take away from the victory. I don't want to get into that. All right.
But like seriously, I hate the fact too because there are these things where like guys, the Lions, their wins. Like, I don't care if guys are hurt or not. They went on the road in Dallas and got a 40-point win. They just went on the road with a 5-0 Vikings team, and they scored 21 unanswered after being down 10-0. And, like, you're down 10-0 in Minnesota versus a 5-0 Minnesota team, and you score 21 straight answered and win the football game. You went and finally beat the Seattle Seahawks. You went on the road in Arizona, which Arizona's not a trash football team, and you beat the Rams to start the season, whether they had guys out or not. Yeah. Like, your 5 wins. Yeah, you maybe haven't played like the Chiefs or the 49ers yet, but your 5 wins are 5 good wins. Like, those are NFL wins. You're on the road for most of them. Like, that, what are we doing here?
What would you say for the crowd of people that would say, yeah, but what about Sean McVay and what he's doing with the injuries and how they're still holding it together? What about Kyle Shanahan, how they're still winning games without their key players?
Oh, they're winning games. They're 3-4. Kyle Shanahan's 3-4. Dan Campbell dominated Sean McVay, and you guys even said it after that. It was a coaching situation. Dan Campbell won that game. That was outright.
That ain't how it works. But I don't want to.
I'm not saying overall as a coach in their career. I'm saying if you're looking at the stretch of games this season, Dan Campbell for this season right now, I would if I did a power rankings like we do power rankings for teams. If I did a coach's power ranking, I would probably have Andy Reid and Dan Campbell.
Okay. That's fine. I don't want to get into it today because we have to talk about the win. All right, that's what it's important. We get into coaching. People want to listen to the victory. So the victory.
Sorry, Richie. I'll quiet down for you over there, Richie Smith.
So the victory, and I will say you mentioned earlier, and I want to get into it more because he deserves more time, more talking time. Jake Bates, the Lions, and I tweeted this out. Lions have a franchise kicker. They have not had one under this regime. They've been cycling through kickers. You have Riley Patterson. You have Michael Badgley. And even though Dan Campbell's always going to be aggressive, man, it helps to have a kicker that you have, to Jay-Z just said, full faith in. You have faith in this guy, his ability to kick. Now, he hasn't kicked anything past 50, but he hasn't been asked to. I mean, he's been kicking. He's 100% kicking field goals this year. Is he going to be 100% on the year? No. But the fact that he's played so well in different environments, at home with 60,000 people, on the road at US Bank Stadium, 60,000 people, he's been great in tough environments, pressure situations. And again, this is someone that I think, not that Dan will change his ways. He's going to be aggressive. We saw a fake punt in the first quarter, which was ridiculous, by the way. But when you have a guy like this, when it is fourth down, and you got a 50-yard field goal, and Dan has to weigh, will my kicker make this or not? Sometimes he will go for it. But other times, you could trust this guy. Like, you couldn't trust Michael Badgley from distance. I think you can do that with Jake Bates. So, Jake Bates, congratulations. I know he said he almost gave up football and was a brick salesman in Houston, and he started the training, the orientation or whatever it was. And I'm glad he's stuck with football because he's a hell of a player. And the Lions are lucky to have him. And he signed for, 2 years? But that is something Brad has gotten mostly. I mean, the guy's nailing every position. They just haven't been able to figure out a kicker. And the Lions historically have had great kickers. But Jake Bates provides some stability there. So big shout out to Jake Bates, man. When he lined up to kick and we were live during the watch party, which if you didn't watch, you can tune in every single week. We were freaking out, happy for Jake Bates. So I would be remiss if I didn't mention Jake Bates and give him some love there, because that was that wasn't an easy kick too, fellas. About 44 yards. Like, that wasn't a gimme. Like, he had to earn that, and he did. So shout out to Jake Bates for that. Got the game ball and everything.
Mm-hmm.
But
I want real quick. I'll say this with Jake Bates. I apologize. I'm scheming something up over here, boys. I'm just scheming up. The Jake Bates thing. You have a kicker, by the way, too. All right, actually, I'm not going to go there. Positive vibes today. I was going to say something. I heard something about Jake Bates, comparing him to different people, and I was like, it kind of threw me off early, like today. So, but no, guys, Jake Bates is your guy. The Michael Badgley thing. I remember when people were like, let's just go with Michael Badgley because it's comfortable. We know what we have in Michael Badgley. It's so comfortable. Klotz, I'm not going at you. I'm just saying
I'm just saying.
Maybe you and there was a lot more people around the city of Detroit and in the state that just were like, well, we like to be comfortable. If you've learned anything with this regime with Dan Campbell and Brad, they do the uncomfortable things. Like, they like to go out and get guys that they feel like are going to help the football team. Jake Bates was one of those pieces. And I do have full confidence that if Michael Badgley didn't even get hurt, Jake Bates was still going to get that job. And he was still going to win that job over. Like, his leg, the way he has. And I do think, like, I don't think it's a full thing to where Dan isn't going to stop being aggressive because you do have Jake Bates. But in a situation like yesterday, even if you got to the 40-yard line, you still have a guy, like, obviously they were in very, very good range for a 40-something yard. If
he nailed
60 yards.
He
nailed it. But if, like, say, like, you couldn't get down there and get to where it's a 40-something yarder and you needed like 55-yarder or a 60-yarder, typically Dan probably would just take a shot. Like, now you're in these fourth quarter games. If you need like a 60-yard field goal, guess what? Guess who? Jake Bates. Jake Bates now. Dan Campbell doesn't have to have that pressure on his back anymore. Now he can lean back on Jake Bates and say, hey, I have this guy now. And I think that's what's the comfortable thing, because you can't say like Michael Badgley has made kicks. Like, he made the kick in LA. He made the kick versus the Rams in the playoffs. he had game winners, but I think it's more so just the comfortability. Like you have a guy that's 10 for 10 right now. Then remember, what is it, Brandon Aubrey for the Cowboys, his rookie year coming out of the UFL. Like he was dominant like Jake Bates was. Like he just wasn't missing. And that's what you have. Like that he turned out to be that. And hopefully it's only week 7. But you have a kicker that's 10 for 10 and you can trust fully. Like I don't think Dan didn't trust him at all. Like for him to kneel the ball, like you said, Jeff, full-heartedly, like Dan was like, yep, we're going to win this football game.
Yeah, and Klotz, you mentioned it before, skeptical about the pressure situations, and that was fair. How do you feel so far? He's got a lot of pressure.
The people that Booner was describing about the Michael Badgley thing was me, because I was worried about Jake Bates. He didn't even kick in college. Like he didn't play college football. Like he had no real experience outside of the UFL, USFL. I always mix it up. Whatever it was, that league. No disrespect. It's just he didn't have much experience, and the experience that he did have, there was 7,000 people in the stands, so they didn't have much pressure situations. And now you're asking him to be the kicker of a Super Bowl contender. So I was very nervous. It was never like, oh, I don't think Jake Bates can actually kick 60 yards. It was never that. It was in these situations where it was the gimme situation as far as the field goal range, but all the pressure was there. And I think as all of us as Detroit Lions fan, I was sick, but my balls were in my stomach. Like I could and there was like we were talking about earlier, Jeff, like that ball, when it was kicked from his foot to the field goal post, felt like it was 30 seconds and you saw it left, right, and then it ended up being right down the middle. So Jake Bates, I have full confidence in him going forward. Never doubted the talent. It was one of those things where can he do it on the big stage? And that was, I don't know why it was a 1:00 game, but that was without a doubt the game of the week. Everybody that was an NFL game or NFL fan was tuning into that game, whether you're a Lions or Vikings fan. Like even if you weren't, you were watching that game. And for him to hit that in that situation, like Jeff said, full faith.
Yeah. I mean, there's no reason not to have faith in the guy. I mean, in the Lions too, I know we'll get into it a little bit. And Jared Goff obviously played a hell of a game, and he's on like a historic pace of the last couple of weeks. And now he's entered MVP conversation. So we'll talk about that in a little bit. But the number 1 seed is alive and well. Like you're leading the NFC North right now. Like it couldn't be any better of a situation, despite the injuries. And to your point earlier, I think Brad's done an amazing job of identifying talent to where you have depth. Good teams have depth. I think this year in the NFL, it's odd. There's a ton of injuries. I don't know if you guys have been paying attention. Guys are dropping left and right, ACL tears, MCL tears, guys breaking bones in their body. Obviously, Aiden Hutchinson's out for the year, but there's so many others. Brandon Ayuk's out now for the entire year, which helps the Lions, obviously, long-term. He's a big-time player. But it seems like injuries have been kind of rocking the entire NFL, not just the Lions. I know guys have been banged up, especially on their defensive line. But the fact that they can overcome that because they have depth and because guys like Josh Paschal can come in there and play his role and do it very well, it does help. Like big shot again. A lot of love goes out to Brad for all this. Like how this team's constructed offensively. Like the Tim Patrick signing. Tim Patrick has been, and honestly, as much as he is a playmaker, guys, that dude is a hell of a run blocker. Like that play, Jahmyr Gibbs ran for like 40, 50 yards. Tim Patrick had that final block. That was like a third-level block, second-level block. And he's out there pushing someone out the way so Jahmyr can get can juke. Who did he make miss? Whoever the Cameron Bynum. Yeah, made him touch earth. But that's Tim Patrick, man. So again, from Brad signing to Brad working the draft, done a very good job. We'll get to later on potential additions. Maybe there's something to add there. And I made a video today about Max Crosby. A lot of people were trying to say it's unrealistic, which I do understand. I don't like hearing it, but I do understand it. But we'll get on to Jared Goff because, guys, the last 4 games, I know we put this out on our Twitter too, Jared Goff has been dialed in. All right? Dialed in. Nuts. I'm going to put this up so you guys can get like some context to how well he's playing. Let me see. We have this tweet that's up on our social media account, which you can follow at @OfficialCTPod. But here it is. Here's the last 4 games for Jared Goff in a wide open MVP race, by the way. Wide open MVP race. Here it is. Jared Goff for the last 4 games, 76 of 91. So what is that, 15 incompletions? 83.5 completion percentage, 1,086 yards, 9 touchdowns, 1 pick, 141.8 passer rating, 4-0 record. That's Jared Goff over the last 4 games.
It's crazy, man.
And that is leading the most explosive offense in football. And again, yeah, the offensive line, they've been doing their job. They're running the ball well, protecting them. But Jared, how do you? I mean, 15 incompletions in 4 games, guys. That's ridiculous.
It's insane.
Like, and now he's entered MVP conversations. I know you mentioned it, Boone. The MVP vote. That was your take before the season. And if you check lines right now, put this graphic up. He has he's entered the race. Here it is. Let me zoom in so you guys can get a better image of it. But here it is. MVP award this season. Mahomes favorite 370 plus 370. Lamar Jackson plus 500. Josh Allen tied with him plus 500. And coming in at third, tied for Josh and Lamar tied for second. So he's right behind him.
Yeah, I guess plus third. Yeah.
Plus 650, Jared Goff is ahead of CJ Stroud, plus 950, and ahead of Jordan Love, plus 1,300. Like, this is real. We're here. He's in the race. Yeah. Like, no longer will he be. He is right now in the race. Every game from here on out will be measured, whether he rises or falls. But this year from Jared, he's been playing excellent. I know he started the year and had a couple picks, and people are freaking out. I get it.
Yeah.
He's recovered, and not only has he recovered, guys, he's playing at a historic pace. I mean, 85% completion percentage over your last 4 games is insane.
Let me take you guys back to 4 weeks ago, following a Tampa Bay loss. 70%, 50% of a certain fan base was, hey, maybe we should look at a guy by the name of Hendon Hooker. Like there was a lot of noise. There were a lot of people that were questioning. Just saying, there was a lot of people questioning Jared Goff. You saw the same thing a year ago when Jared Goff went on a little stretch of football with some turnovers, some fumbles, interceptions. And then 4 weeks later, this man is 4th or 3rd in odds for the MVP race. And that's how good Jared Goff is. And that's where it's like, guys, hey, we're in the NFL. Like this guys are going to have bad weeks. And that's where I think NFL fans, and especially like some Detroit Lions fans that are on that opposite side, need to kind of, I would say, I don't know if you want to say the word like grow up a little bit or like be realistic. And there's the clickbait and the people who are constantly hate Jared Goff. But this man is one of the best players in football. Like he's right now, you could argue he's the best quarterback in all of football. National media, there are literally former quarterbacks that are going on air saying that he is currently the best quarterback in the NFL right now over this 4-week stretch. Like that's a guy that 4 weeks ago, people were literally calling for his job, questioning why people are chanting Jared. Why are people in Detroit questioning or chanting Jared Goff's name in Detroit? Like it's ridiculous. And now look at this. And it was the same thing last year and the year before, guys. Couple stats, like over the last 2 seasons, this year and last year, over this stretch of football since the Lions kind of got back to the playoffs, he is 1st in passing yards in the NFL since the start of 2023. He's top 5 in passing touchdowns. He is 1st in total wins for quarterbacks since the start of last season, and he's top 3 in completion percentage. Like Jared Goff is elite over the last year or 2. He has been elite, and there were like questioning his contract, question whether he should stay in Detroit, whether we should. Guys, no, this man. And I'll say this now. I will guarantee Jared Goff will win a Super Bowl for the Detroit Lions. Like he will. He will hoist a Lombardi trophy in Detroit for all of you fans, the people who hated him, who wanted him out, all of the haters, the people who wanted Hendon Hooker in over the last few weeks. Jared Goff will hoist a Lombardi trophy for all of you. A Super Bowl MVP trophy for all of you. Every single one of you. He will hoist one. That's how good this guy is. He is he's better than Matthew Stafford was here in Detroit. This man is playing at an elite level that we have not seen here in a long time. So listen, and I'm not going to say names, but there are people who now are flipping narratives saying, well, I just always said that Jared Goff needed the pieces around. Every quarterback needs pieces around him. Am I wrong, fellas?
No,
every quarterback does.
You're right. You're all right.
Like, name me a quarterback that's won a Super Bowl or won an MVP that didn't have pieces around him to do it. You can't. I will name you multiple All-Pro or Pro Bowl players that are on his football team for him to go get that job done. Every quarterback does. That's a terrible excuse. Now, if this guy goes in, hey, and then this is what I don't want to happen because I love what Jared Goff. Hey, if you guys haven't yet, why not? Hey, go get that bet in for Jared Goff to win MVP while it's still plus 650. Just like I told you to get the plus 140 for the NFC North, go get that because guess what's going to happen? Jared Goff's not going to slow down. I promise you that. The Detroit Lions are going to go out there. He's going to throw for another 300 yards versus the Tennessee Titans. And then the next week, he's in a big-time game. Do they play the Titans or Packers first? The at Lambeau Field. They go into Lambeau Field, and he goes and puts another game up. And then let me tell you what. And then the next week, it's Sunday Night Football versus C.J. Stroud in the Houston Texans. And he goes in there and has another almost perfect football game, and he is the leader for MVP within the next 3 weeks. So all of you that hated Jared Goff, welcome to the Jared Goff MVP conversation, fellas. We are here, and it's not slowing down. It's only going to get better, and this man's going to make an absolute case to win MVP. And I can't wait, boys. Let's go.
Yeah, Boone, you cooked there, and I really don't have much to say except to add on to this point. I think the reason we're seeing Jared Goff play so good is because he's playing much more confident, and where it really matters, and it showed this week, especially with the defensive coordinator like Brian Flores, Jared Goff's mobility in the pocket since that Tampa Bay game has completely changed. After he threw 55 times, you saw him really zone in on his ability to move in the pocket and create plays, even if it's not running outside the pocket, because we all know he can't do that. But that's the thing where if you look at Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, all the guys that are in front of him MVP-wise, what can they do? They can move. Can Jared Goff not move? No. But you look at the stats that he's put up over the last 4 games, I think it was like 1,000 yards, whatever it was. It's the only guy who's ever done it was 2008 Peyton Manning when he won the MVP. And what was Peyton Manning? He wasn't mobile, but he can move in the pocket. And when you have the wide receivers that you do, you have that tight end, Jahmyr Gibbs out of the backfield, and you can just hang in that pocket for a second longer, even though you're taking one step. That creates windows that weren't there before. And that's why you see like that Amon-Ra St. Brown play when he stepped up in the pocket, could have been a 4-sack, and he drops a dime on the seam to him. Like Jared Goff wasn't making those throws consistently in games. He could make them every now and then, but a lot of the times, like if Jared Goff was in the pocket and he got touched, especially early on, it was the whole thing, Goff, small hands, he fumbled the ball. Like Jared Goff has done an excellent job. I know he dropped the ball on Sunday, but he recovered it right away. Jared Goff inside the pocket has played much cleaner, and that leads to more offensive yards, points, etc. So when you have these playmakers and Jared Goff is getting better inside the pocket at moving, that adds another element to this offense, and we're seeing it this year. Like this is the best offense we've seen out of this Detroit Lions team under Jared Goff, Ben Johnson, and Dan Campbell.
I mean, I think, guys, and the thing that gets people, I guess, a little skeptical, and I'll even admit to this. This has happened with myself. You look at Goff, and he does what he does. He's accurate, he's efficient, and he gets the job done. It's not sexy in people's eyes. So people like to look at other guys that make it look a different way and say, okay, well, Goff is really, in terms of like that throwback quarterback, he's one. There's not too many like Goff in the league now. I mean, you got Jared, Kirk Cousins. I mean, I'm trying to think here. Aaron Rodgers at 40. I mean, who's the other guy?
Aaron Rodgers in his prime, like, it was very mobile.
So, but I'm trying to think of other guys like Tua. I guess when Tua
would probably be the last one.
But
probably,
like, Joe Burrow.
No, Joe Burrow ran for a 47-yard touchdown 2 weeks ago.
So,
but even like that's what I'm saying. Like he's very like, and I'm not going to go into a whole Joe Burrow thing, but Joe Burrow is like a lot more mobile than people give him credit for. Jared Goff will be the last like pure pocket quarterback that has success in the NFL as far as winning playoff games, because between him and Kirk, those are like the two traffic cones, as people call them in the NFL. And Kirk has shown that he really can't win even when given good teams. He can put up a lot of stats, win you a lot of regular season games, but he's not winning you playoff games, especially at this point in his career. Maybe he can in Atlanta, but besides the point, Jared Goff is much better than him. Jared Goff will be the last like pure pocket quarterback to like dissect the NFL. Like Jaden Daniels, we talked about it. Jaden Daniels is a new archetype. Like everybody's going to be chasing him. Even a guy like C.J. Stroud, he's a pocket passer, but C.J. Stroud can move, and he can kill you with his legs. Even guys like Baker Mayfield. Like Baker Mayfield now is running the football. Jared Goff, we saw him try to run, and it looked like a baby deer trying to walk. Like you don't want to see Jared Goff run.
I think it's part of the two, and this is, and there were a lot of people too. I remember last year, I can't remember what quarterback got called. It's the game manager of quarterback, like the Tom Brady, the Peyton Manning, like they're game managers, and they're doing it at an elite level. And like people look at the game manager comment as like a hit on Jared. I bet you if you called Jared Goff right now and had a conversation with him, I think that's like like, okay, if you can be a game manager at an extreme, like an elite level, you're going to win a Super Bowl, and you can win MVPs doing that because you're controlling the full game. Like, you're not just like, yeah, you can't be mobile, but it's the same thing. Like of a mobile quarterback. A mobile quarterback's going to control the game because you have to be able to take that into account as a defense. And like, he's controlling the everything because he's able to move and move. Like with Jared Goff, he manages the game so well. And you add the Ben Johnson effect and the weapons around him to where when you have a guy who has the IQ like Jared Goff, that's the thing. When like game managers is the IQ, like to me, like he has the arm and he has the IQ. And if he is going to outsmart every defense, it's the exact reason when you look at right now that he's the best quarterback versus blitzes. By far too. Like he is dominating when teams blitz him and they just keep blitzing him and he dominates it. It's because his IQ, when he's so good and he's played so much football, he does it at such an elite level to where you just can't stop him. All right, you can blitz him. All right, he knows what he needs to do to get out of that. All right, don't blitz him. Set guys back. Okay, he's going to check down. He's going to find different ways to build. He's going to find the open spots for his players to get yards. Like he will absolutely cut you up offensively no matter what. And like, that's the type of Peyton Manning and Tom Brady. That's what those guys did so well, is they knew, like, how do you win football games? You have to manage it. People always talk about the Tom Brady, the winning. They were like, well, he had the defenses and he had this. All right, whether they put up 13 points or 30 points, he was going to make sure when the game ended that they were going to win. They were going to be on top. Whether if he only needed a touchdown, he was going to make sure that game was done and you won. And that's where I think people kind of lose it with Jared Goff a little bit, to where they're like, oh, well, he's not mobile. He's not like the new and day quarterback like the Josh Allens and Mahomes. No, but I promise you what, put him up against Josh Allen one-on-one, and you'll see it in a couple weeks. He's going to dominate that defense, and he is going to cut that defense up, and they're going to beat the Buffalo Bills because his IQ was way better than Jared or Josh Allen's, and he is going to cut you up as a game manager. He's going to have long drives. He's going to just, what's the word I'm looking for here, boys? Just eat down the defense. Just
dissect
them all game long. By the time the fourth quarter comes around, you're like, oh my gosh, this guy's destroyed us. He's like, this guy's 22 for 25 right now. Like, we haven't been able to get a completion out of this guy. And that's what it is. And I think people take that the wrong way as the game manager. Like, guys, that's a good thing for a guy like him, especially when you have the team you have now, where you know what you need and he knows what he needs to do to win these games. And he's going to continue to do it at a high level. And what's crazy, Jared Goff every year, he gets better throughout seasons. Like, from the start of a season to the end and to the playoffs, he just only improves. Like, imagine him improving now. Like, how is Jared Goff's only going to get better now? And he is already playing at an MVP level. And that's where I think it's scary for the NFL. It's like, good luck stopping Jared Goff and Jameson Williams and Amon-Ra and Sam Laporta and Gibbs and Dima and that offensive line. Like, Tim Patrick now. It is going to be impossible. It will literally be impossible.
Well, here's the thing with Goff, too. And when Goff was in LA, they obviously had success. They made a Super Bowl. But the last 2 years in LA, he struggled. Him and Sean McVay were not seeing eye to eye, and everything kind of went downhill. The thing that he was critiqued the most about, he threw 29 interceptions in his last 2 years with the Rams. And you could throw in, let's see, in terms of fumbles, he had 5. So, if you combine the 29 plus 5, okay, he's had 34 turnovers in his last 2 years with the Rams. When he got to Detroit, it was like, okay, you got some stability at quarterback. They'll probably end up drafting one, but you have a starter. That's how people looked at Goff. He was, turnover prone. He didn't have a great arm. There was stuff. Obviously, Sean McVay was ready to upgrade in his eyes and get a guy like Stafford with more arm talent, all that stuff. But he's changed the narrative in in Detroit. Turnovers, check. He does it on a way lesser scale. I mean, in his Detroit Lions career, he had 12 turnovers last year, 12 interceptions, excuse me. And that was his highest in Detroit. He's thrown under 10 every single year. And so far he has 4, so he's still under 10. 12 was his most in Detroit. So he had 30 passing touchdowns to add to that. So he's played extremely well in Detroit. He's played significantly better. And obviously Ben Johnson has done a great job, and Brad Holmes have done a great job of, to your point, Booner, every good quarterback has talent, right? And Pat Mahomes right now is Pat Mahomes, but he's struggling even though they're undefeated because he doesn't have weapons. Like the guys aren't there. Every quarterback needs help, no matter how great that quarterback is. So for Goff to have the weapons he has, the offensive line, like they've done a good job of building around him, and he's succeeding. Like credit to Brad Holmes and the coaching staff for putting him in a position to succeed, and credit to Goff for actually going out there and doing it. Like you can't take anything away from Goff. I mean, he's cut down the turnovers. He's still throwing the ball. I mean, every year he's 4,500 passing yards every year in Detroit. Besides his first year when the team was bad, he's about 30 passing touchdowns. Like you can't ask for better. I mean, his completion percentage is up in terms of almost career highs. I mean, last year he threw the highest completion percentage of his career, but his first year in Detroit, it was about the same number. And this year it's 73.6%. Like he is, and by the way, the completion percentage thing, like I mentioned this today on Bleacher Report. I talked about it in a video earlier. You know what's a good completion percentage? Like high 60s. 70s is really good. Like elite. He's throwing in the 80s the last 4 games. Like that is a different level of efficiency. So
yeah,
Jared has turned the narrative on himself. He has a chip on his shoulder. And that's what I love about Goff is he does. Whether, he's very professional. He says all the right things. But on the inside, every day that Goff goes to work, he thinks it. He does have to think about it every day. But most days, to keep him motivated, he knows he was given up on. They gave up on him after drafting him number 1 overall. And the Detroit Lions are lucky to have him. You got a franchise quarterback, and you got multiple first-round picks in that trade. It's ridiculous. I mean, looking back on it, it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't.
I just want to ask you guys this, and this is a genuine, like, I would love to get the chat to participate, and I want you two to participate. Can we make a pact in an agreement? And I'm sure you guys know where I'm going with this because I had this conversation last year through that Packers and Bears stretch, and now I'm turning around. I want the same pact here with you guys and the people in the chat. Can we all agree to not overreact if Jared Goff at some point goes through a 2-game stretch to where he has a couple fumbles or an interception, or maybe he a couple tough games? Can we all finally that's the one thing I'm so tired of in kind of here with Detroit fans at points, to where it's like, we'll give Jared Goff the most credit, all this credit. We'll chant his name, do all this, but those same people are so quick within one bad game to be like, Hendon Hooker. It's like, dude, come on. Like, what are we doing here? Like, can we just have a pact? Can we just have the pact, though, to where if there is one of those games, let's just, like, Jared Goff is our quarterback. He is our quarterback for the future.
Game, though, right? Like, if Jared Goff,
well, I mean, we can have the conversation. Guys, you can go back and watch the shows Mondays after his bad games. I sat here with you guys. Jeff, me and you have had conversations for years about this. I am always someone to where I will be a slappy and all of that, but I will be one of those guys to take a step back and be like, hey, this guy played. This needs to be better. I always do. And I will do that if Jared Goff has a bad game. Like, yeah, hey, that's the reason, we lost because of him. That's your quarterback. It's like you're going to get all the credit and you're going to get a lot of hate after the game. But the only thing I don't like about the hate is being like, he's not, like, shout out Easy, he might be in here, but like being like, oh, no, he's just not the future. I don't know if you could do it with it after like a 2-game stretch. And then this 4-game stretch happens. And you're like, okay, now what? Like, what are we gonna do this in another 4 weeks if he has another bad game, and then we're just gonna keep this cycle up? Like, Jared Goff is the past, the future, and the present, boys. He is the quarterback of the Detroit Lions. Jared Goff, deal with it.
Yeah, that's a I got it right.
Let me ask you this, and this isn't like I'm again, kind of like not even a trust circle. Like I just want to see where you're at as of right now. Would you rather have Jared Goff or Patrick Mahomes? How they're playing right now?
I mean,
forget about the past.
Jared Goff's playing better than Patrick Mahomes right now. That's a fact. Okay. The only reason the Chiefs are 6-0 is because of their defense. Like, I think everyone knows. Jared Goff today, right now, what's the date? Monday, October 21st at 8:45 p.m. Jared Goff is the best quarterback in the NFL. The best quarterback in the NFL today.
Would you rather have Jared Goff or Josh Allen?
Jared Goff today is the best quarterback in the NFL at 8:45 p.m. on Monday, October 21st. The number 1 quarterback in the NFL.
Final one. Would you rather have Jared Goff or Lamar
Jared Goff is the best quarterback in the NFL at 8:45 p.m. on Monday, October 21st.
All right. Sorry, I want to make sure.
Yeah, you know the answer.
I know where you stood, Boone.
Yeah, he's playing well. I mean, you can't really add much to that. The offense is playing well. I mean, you had Jahmyr Gibbs go out there, Klotzy. I know. Hey, time to give Klotzy some credit here. Hey, Jahmyr Gibbs.
Due timing too. If you were watching the stream, on due timing too.
For anyone, and by the way, someone comments on every stream. I have to think of the username, and if he's in here, appreciate you. He always puts timestamps. He comments and puts timestamps. So he watches the stream and puts timestamps. So shout out to him. And there's a timestamp in there when Jahmyr scored. And I rewatched it today, and I was laughing because if you were there, you heard it. But I was giving Klotzy some shit because Jahmyr comes in, and David's out. He's injured. And they just told him the rest after the fumble. And Jahmyr comes out. I look at Klotzy. I go, Klotzy, you're about to find out if he's RB1 right now. As soon as I said that, 50-yard TD run made Cameron Bynum touch earth. Like, I don't know if he heard, and Klotzy looked at me and said, he heard you. He heard you, Klotz. Hey, you were right, Klotz. I mean, not that we heard a player, but he's a dude.
Those are the games where Jahmyr Gibbs is so valuable. And I think yesterday we really saw, like, Jahmyr Gibbs, like, people were like, David Montgomery can finish through tackles, which David Montgomery can, but so can Jahmyr Gibbs. Like, Jahmyr Gibbs is very physical. But why Jahmyr Gibbs is so good is because Brian Flores was sending the blitz at all times. He was trying to put as much pressure on Jared Goff and stopping that run as he could. But when you have a running back like Jahmyr Gibbs, especially behind that offensive line, he can beat the blitz just with his speed. He gets to that second level right now because the blitzers are behind him. He beats that front line. And then that's where you get Cam Bynum on Jahmyr Gibbs one-on-one. Who's winning that? Anybody on the open field with Jahmyr Gibbs is either getting popped and blown back 3 yards or getting juked out of their shoes. And when you have Jahmyr Gibbs like that, and then what he can do out of the backfield, Jahmyr Gibbs is so valuable to this team. And David Montgomery is too. Do not take me long. Or do not take it the wrong way. But there's those matchups where you're like, okay, you know this is going to be a David Montgomery game. When it's the Minnesota Vikings, you can bet your ass because he's doing it even in his rookie season that is going to be a Jahmyr Gibbs game. He averages like over 100 total scrimmage yards, and he has 5+ touchdowns in 3 games against the Vikings, obviously 2 of those being in his rookie season. But you remember week 17, whatever it was, week 18 last year when the Lions clinched the division, Jahmyr Gibbs was juking dudes out of their shoes for touchdowns, and he was looking like a future All-Pro, and he did last game against the Vikings. They don't win that game without him, especially with D-Mont going down. That's why it's so important, like you said, Jeff, how Brad Holmes built this team. Even when a core player goes down like David Montgomery, it looked like it was going to be a lot worse than what it was. Like, say David Montgomery suffered a serious injury right there, especially because of his knee, you would be worried about it, especially long-term. But when you have a running back like Jahmyr Gibbs who can be a running back of that caliber, it's a sigh of relief. So, Jahmyr Gibbs, you know how I stand, fellas. RB1 of this team, the best running back. No shot at David Montgomery. David Montgomery, top 10 running back. I think Jahmyr Gibbs is easily a top 5 running back in this league. Both are great, but Jahmyr Gibbs just showed what he can do last night.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, Klotzy, all right? Jahmyr Gibbs is a top 5 running back in the NFL. Like, skill-wise, this man is up there with Christian McCaffrey, all of those like, he is there. But, you guys, I think you gave your own point a little bit to what this running back, like, I don't think there's not an RB1.
No, you get what I'm saying.
I get what you're saying. Like, I think skill wise, obviously he has the talent. I think, like, to what you said, and that's why I love the running back duo you have in the offensive line. Either one of those guys, and you don't know what day or anything, like, they can either be RB1 on the day. Like, we've already seen whatever we played. We're 5-1, 6 games. The Lions have played 6 games. Probably, I don't know exactly. I'm not looking at the game logs. Probably 3 of those games, David Montgomery was RB1 and had big-time games, and the other 3, Jahmyr Gibbs was RB1 and had big-time games. And that's just like, that's why it's so good with, like, it helps with injuries. It helps with, like, defenses on their heels, not knowing what's going to happen. Like, all of that, no one can figure it out. And, like, Klotz, like, a game like yesterday, Scotty Montgomery, I mentioned on the stream yesterday, Scotty Montgomery said in the preseason, he was like, the one thing we'd love to do with our running backs is whoever's hot that day, we just give that, like, we're rolling with them. And that was what, like, I know D-Mont got hurt, but ended up coming back. It was honestly, boys, did you guys hear Dan Campbell on the D-Mont, the update?
No, I did not.
Not a knee injury or anything. Like, there was nothing. So there was nothing bad with it. All that happened was he got kneed in the back of the leg in his knee. And he felt pain in his knee. Yeah, he felt pain in his knee. But you know how, like, there's muscle and, like, meat behind your knee? he got kneed in that spot.
Muscle and knee.
So this is what Dan Campbell, like word for word. So he thought that it was his knee. And then as it starts, like the dead legs, they start going away. He's like, as he started feeling better, he was like, oh yeah, no, I'm back, boys. It was like, I just got hit really hard.
That was that was one of the worst like starts imaginable for the Lions. And that was like the thing that was just like the bow on top of it. Like they go 3 and out, Vikings go right down the field on both of the first opening drives. Then you see D-Mont just go down. You're like, oh, my God, what is happening? Second quarter, though, literally within like the first minute and a half, Jahmyr Gibbs goes 45 yards to the house.
I will say, to go down 10-0 like that and the momentum, the Lions were plus like 300 on the money line. Like, it was basically like, oh, yeah, here we go. And it's funny because all the players spoke about it. Dan Campbell mentioned this. And, again, more credit to him for getting these guys prepared. But the Vikings were like 50-something to 3 or 10 or something like that. It's like 0.4 scored and points against in the first quarter, like domination, like 20-21-0, 14-0, like dominating teams in the first quarter. And the Lions go down 10-0, and they still were like, hey, we're chilling. Let's go score. They went down and scored. They scored again, and then it was 14-10. And then that's when it was like Vikings were like, oh, here we go. And after that first quarter, Brian Flores had no answers. Like, no. I mean, and he is, for a guy who's the second best defensive coordinator in the league, no answers. And that isn't like Brian Flores. And all the players are talking about like crazy schemes. He's making adjustments. He could not do a thing. And Jahmyr Gibbs, they were one of the best run defenses. They gave up 100+ yards to one back. Like, it wasn't combined between. Jahmyr lit them up on his own. And that's what, remember guys, we talked about it. Like the Vikings have not faced an offensive line like this. They found out. I mean, they fight. And that was with Yodi with like 4 holding penalties in the first.
No quarter. Kevin Zeitler.
No Zeitler.
And Yodi, you didn't know that going into the week either. Like, you thought
he got hurt at practice. Like, you just out of nowhere, like one of those practice guys. And like without we're with Yodi guys, like JMO. I don't even know if JMO had a catch. I think he had a carry. I don't even know if he had a catch.
Yeah, it was like -4 total yards. He was making blocks though.
He makes block. That's the thing. It's like this offense. It's like you can have a day where Amon-Ra the last 2 weeks has 30-40 yards, and then all of a sudden JMO has 0 yards or -4 yards, and Amon-Ra St. Brown goes for 120 or 115, and Sam Laporta doesn't do much. But Tim Patrick has a couple big catches, and like Leaf, like guys, credit to Cleve Freeman. He had 30 yards, but those 30 yards, honestly, guys, I'm like, 30 yards felt like 100 yards to me. I was like, Leaf, bro, big time plays in big moments. It was crazy.
I mean,
Leaf's been getting chippy too. Last 2 games, I think he's been
Laporta. To Tyler's point, like Laporta does look banged up.
Yeah,
I think he got injured early in that game. Do you guys remember that? And he started limping a little bit.
Yeah, and it kept going on. That's why, like, you talk about Brian Flores, like, being one of the best defensive coordinators, like, and they're saying in the comments too, like, schemes can only last so long when you have that many weapons. Like, because you can break any scheme. Like, if you want to man up somewhere, that's fine. We're going to either do play action, throw it over your head like they did against Amon-Ra St. Brown. And then once, like, especially when you're a defensive coordinator like Brian Flores, like, he's a very prideful guy. Like, once you get burned, you're not going to let that happen again. So then they try to push everybody back, and now here comes Jahmyr Gibbs running the ball down your throat the whole game. So they have no answer. Like, any defensive coordinator, even like that's why I say if the Lions and Chiefs were to play right now, Steve Spagnuolo, he could go into the Hall of Fame as a defensive coordinator for all I care. Like, I would have no problem with that. He would not be able to scheme against this Lions offense just because of how many. Could he limit it compared to like how Brian Flores did to a lesser degree? Absolutely. But when you talk about controlling this offense, the only way you do that is if Jared Goff has a bad game, but then you still have to stop this run. And you look at what Jordan Mason was doing last week or this weekend on the run game, like he was cutting them up. It's like this offense can kill you by 1,000 cuts regardless of who's on the other side or on the headset. And
you do have all those weapons. Like on top of that too, I think like part of it, you have Ben Johnson, who is probably one of the best offensive minds in football right now. And you have Jared Goff, who has the experience to be able to cut a defense up. So it's like you scheme whatever you want. Ben's going to have a counter to that. And Jared's going to be able to, on the field, see the play, see the coverage, see the blitz, see this. And Jared's such a vet now and his IQ is so high. He's going to be able to move things around and flip everything. And it's like, it's hard to beat that. Like, it's especially with the weapons you have at the elite levels and the amount of them that you have. It might be impossible to. They're averaging like 40 points a game the last 3 or 4 weeks. It's crazy.
I guess from what I noticed, it was interesting that Khalif and Amon-Ra, in terms of their wide receiver core, they played well because what are those guys? Very good route runners. How do you beat zone coverage, which Brian Flores mainly does? Great route running and knowing when to get open, where to be, how to get open, finding soft spots in their zone coverage. And Khalif and Amon-Ra are like experts at that, absolute experts. And who else was up there in receiving? They're running backs, because when they're blitzing, Jared Goff can check down, right? So it's like, it seemed like they had answers to every one of Brian Flores' questions. It was just like, all right, you're blitzing, boom, Jahmyr Gibbs, Dave Montgomery, boom, Khalif making plays, finding ways to get open, boom, Amon-Ra St. Brown. Like, so it seems like Ben Johnson, he just hasn't figured out. I mean, it's just, and Brian Flores is a very good DC, but he just hasn't figured out. And again, personnel-wise, it's not even close. The Lions' offense is stacked across the board compared to what the Vikings have. And when you add on top of that Ben and how smart he is, it's just hard. Not that Brian isn't, but Brian can only work with what he has. I mean, he doesn't have, like, that defense has been playing very well. Like, credit to Brian Flores. They don't have all the talent. They have, like, Van Ginkel's very good, but they don't have a ton of key pieces. But it didn't even matter. I mean, it just did. So it's just, I mean, it's something. Hey,
how about that rush defense? Second in the NFL, huh? 144 yards against him.
Yeah. And they got. Are you talking about the Vikings?
I'm talking about the Vikings rush defense.
Oh, yeah, I thought you were saying the Lions run defense.
No, I was saying the Vikings was second in the NFL going into it, and we ran for 144 yards right down their throats. Like, they had no answer for Jahmyr Gibbs or D-Mont. Like, D-Mont even beat up. Dude was getting 5 yards. Like, how many was he? Hold on. He was averaging 3 or 4 a carry. So, like, it's crazy.
That's the difference, too, like, to what Jeff was saying. Like, with talent, where the Detroit Lions at this point have legitimate bona fide talent across, like, their front seven, even with Brian Branch and Kirby Joseph against the run, and then a game script type of team with the Vikings. Because look at the 50 to 3-point differential in the first quarter. So now teams got to throw because they're behind. So teams aren't running the ball behind them, and they weren't running the ball with David Montgomery, Jahmyr Gibbs, and this offensive line, to your guys' credit, what you were saying earlier. So it was just completely two different types of styles of defense. Like, one defense was going to get exposed and one defense could get exposed, but not to the same degree. And you saw that on Sunday. Which defense was needed to step up more, and that's what team ended up winning when you look at the turnover differential for the Lions and the Vikings.
And then one thing I do want to say, and let's get to the defense a little bit. The safety duo argument, there's not really an argument. Those two are, as a duo, Kirby and Brian, best safety duo in the league. They're better than the Falcons. Now, like, the Falcons have Justin Simmons and Jussie, but they're better. They just are. You have two guys chasing the interception title.
Number one.
Like, you good defenses usually have, hey, you have a guy up there chasing the interception title. You know, he's up there. They have two guys competing. Oh, who can lead the league in interceptions? Brian Branch or Kirby? They're together. And it's not just they're both ball hawks. Like, Kirby's like one of the best ball hawks in the league as a safety. And you have Brian, who is a ball hawk, but he does so many other things too. Like, he's so versatile. They complement each other. It's kind of like the running back duo we talk about. It's like, not only that they're two great players, but they complement each other very well. Brian Branch and Kirby are the exact same thing. And now you're starting to see lines where Brian Branch, he's creeping. If you check those defensive player of the year lines,
moving up.
He's just creeping. He's on the back. He's on the back of it, but he's there. He's in the pitch. He's in the graphic. So the safety duo, it doesn't matter. You can't go over the top. I mean, you just can't. There's some plays that end up happening, but it's so rare. I mean, you're going to throw with Brian Branch lurking or Kirby Joseph lurking? You just can't.
It's baffling, too. When we had the conversation going into the season with Ife Melifonwu, where it's like, well, Ife should be starting over Kirby, and it just made no sense because Kirby, what he does best of being that ball hawk, like Ife Melifonwu, no disrespect to him, but he's not the Kirby Joseph in pass coverage. That's what they need. And Kirby stepped it up against the run, but Brian Branch, why he's so important, because now they had Hutchinson down, he's the best defensive player that you have, and he's playing like an all-pro right now. He's no doubt, without a doubt right now, in my opinion, the best safety in football. But what he can do against the run when the running backs make it through into the second level. Like, Brian Branch over his first 20 games has had like 106 total tackles, 75 of them in solo. So almost 75% of the tackles that he's making are just one-on-ones. And I think when you see that, that also helps just the other players around him because they know they can trust that Brian Branch is back there. What he does and how he does it with Aaron Glenn and the scheme we already gave to Shea Townsend, but he's Aaron Glenn's dream right now because he can do everything from the pass game and the run game, and you can send him on a blitz too. So between him and Kirby Joseph, Xavier McKinney for the Packers, unfortunately, has 5 right now. But to have those two guys tied for second, that's exactly what you need with Aiden Hutchinson being out because they're creating plays.
Hey, too, like the thing with this safety, Jeff, what you said about the turnovers, like being able to kind of go in there and create those like these guys have 8 total together in the NFL right now. The Minnesota Vikings have 11 total. The Saints have 10, Packers 9, and Steelers 9. And then you have the combination of Brian Branch and Kirby Joseph with 8. Like if you just those two are tied for what would that be? 4th in the NFL for interceptions in the NFL. Like they have more interceptions than 29 teams in the NFL combined. Like that's an insane stat alone. So like Brian Branch and Kirby, the number 1 safety duo in the NFL. Brian Branch, guys, he's creeping up there. Like you said, you had the best defensive player in the NFL with Aiden Hutchinson. Like Brian Branch is going to start getting into a conversation with some of these best guys, even the edge rushers in the NFL. If he keeps playing, if he plays like he did the last 2 weeks, the rest of the season, he is a game breaker. I heard Shannon Sharp and Ocho Cinco talking about Brian Branch, just talking about how this dude, like he is the best at his position in the game right now. Credit to to Ben Johnson, guys. Or not Ben Johnson, Brad Holmes. I don't know why I said Ben Johnson. To Brad Holmes for going out and getting the guy. Like, he got him in the 2nd round. Like, this man was supposed to be a 1st-round draft pick. Falls to the 2nd round, and you're able to scoop him up and able to get him. Like, unbelievable. He's the best at his position. Like, Brian Branch is a lock for All-Pro. And if Kirby keeps what he's doing up, you're going to literally have 2 safeties on this Detroit Lions team sitting in the All-Pro team. That's unheard of. That is unheard of.
Yeah, you just don't see
it. Watching before you go real quick, Jeff, it was great watching Jordan Addison, who was the number 1 pick by the Minnesota Vikings, the 1st round of the 2023 NFL draft, almost have a great play, but then Brian Branch looked like Superman, who was a 2nd round pick in that draft, picking the ball off and going the other way. So it's just Brad Holmes' magic.
Yeah, year 2. This man's in year 2.
I know.
That's what's crazy. It's not like he's in year 3, year 4. This man is in year 2. It's nuts.
Now, and I want to ask you guys, like, what'd you make of the defense? We'll get to the pass rush at 9:15. So, but just the defense. What'd you make of the defense without Hutch? And just in general, because I think this, and we'll get to the more, who they should add later. We're going to talk about that today and kind of revisit it a little bit and grade the pass rush and all that. But I will say, I thought the linebackers, Trevor Nowaski, your guy, Boone, Anzalone, Rodrigo. I thought Rodrigo had a hell of a game. Rodrigo played really well.
Yep.
And honestly, Taron Arnold made some plays. I know the Brian Branch pick, he was, he did get kind of worked there by Jordan Addison. He was open, but then Brian Branch helped him. That's what Brian Branch is supposed to do. But I thought the defense, although Sam Darnold, it felt like he had plenty of time to throw. They were opportunistic. I thought that at the end there, they got the stop when they needed it. The first quarter, after the Vikings went up 10, they did a good job of holding them. So although when you watch the game at points, there was some worries, I thought the defense, they were fine. I thought they did their job, even without Hutch, to be honest with you. I knew what to expect. I knew there'd be some struggles, but the fact that they won after that is massive. Even without Hutch, they found a way to win. So credit to AG for that.
Go ahead, Boom. Go ahead.
No, you're good. You can go. I'm looking at something anyway, so you can go ahead.
I was going to say they did exactly what they needed to do situationally. I think when they needed to, the secondary is what held this team together. We talked about it a little bit earlier, but Terrion Arnold going up. I know you're talking about him getting a little bit cooked by Jordan Addison, but Jordan Addison's such a good route runner, one of the most underrated just wide receivers in general in the NFL. So he was going to get exposed a couple of times, but he never let up a huge play there. I don't even think he had a flag. He might have had one, but I think it was offsetting penalty, so it really didn't count. Terrion Arnold held his own. Carlton Davis held his own. Not allowing Justin Jefferson to get over 100 yards when Sam Darnold had the time that he did situationally, let alone when Sam Darnold was able to make plays with his feet. That secondary stepped up so much. And same thing with what you were saying with the linebacker rooms. Kelvin Shepard had those boys ready to go. All 4 of them between Nowaski, Malcolm Rodriguez, Jack Campbell, and Alex Anzalone. again, they held it together, especially against the run game. Like the plays they were making at the line of scrimmage, not one of them, but it seemed like every play there was 2 or 3 linebackers there ready if there was a broken tackle. And they were just playing as a unit, seeing the ball clearly and creating plays and following the ball, reading, diagnosing, and not allowing the big plays that happen in the run game outside of that Aaron Jones 34-yard rush. That, I think, was the most important play for the defense because they knew they had to lock the fuck in right away because this offense can score and they can score quick. After that defense against the run, it locked in for the most part. There's a couple plays, but the ones that really hurt were like the Aaron Jones when he was lined up at wideout against Trevor Nowatzki. Like those plays are going to happen, but as for the most part, that was one of the hottest NFL offenses in the league right now. And that defense without Aiden Hutchinson stepped up. Shout out to Aaron Glenn. I think that's when you look at the stat book, it's not like, oh, like Aaron Glenn showed up. But when you look at the last 2 games, what he did against Dak Prescott at home against that offense with CeeDee Lamb, and now what he did with Sam Darnold at home with Justin Jefferson, that you got to give Aaron Glenn credit because his biggest critique has been the secondary. So far, all 4 of those defensive backs have been playing well. Amik gave up that touchdown to Justin Jefferson, but he was in great position, and that's Justin Jefferson. Those plays are going to happen. I think that defense stepped up very well. I think the defensive line, we'll get into it soon. A little bit worried. Shout out Josh Pascal. He played a hell of a game, got in there, made a couple plays against the run, had that sack, so he stepped up, did what he needed to do. But that defensive line, a little worrisome. But as far as the rest of the other guys picked up and stepped up the way they needed to.
Yeah, I mean, defensively, guys, like let's call it what it is. There were some plays that were given up that you're like, oh no, and like Sam Darnold did have a lot of time in the pocket at times where it's like, all right, we would love a pass rush here. I know we're going to get to that in a couple minutes. Let's just look at the possessions that this defense had to deal with to open the game up. Dan Campbell, like putting the defense in the position he did with the fake punt instantly. And then it is literally a 2-play drive in the Aaron Jones touchdown. Like you put your defense right away on their heels and give up a touchdown. Like that's not a position you want to put your defense in. So yeah, you could say that, hey, they need to get that stop, but still like you didn't get, like, you're not giving your defense an opportunity there essentially. And then the next possession, the defense, it's the bend don't break thing, guys. And that's what I felt like it's going to be like this all year without Hutch. It's like, how do we bend but don't break? You get the touchdown, the 2-play touchdown after a 4th down conversion that you fail on your own like 30 something or 40-yard line. And then you turn around, you end up bend, don't break, give up a field goal. That's it. You just give up 3 points, keep yourself in the game. And then the next defensive possession, guys, a 3 and out, and then basically another 3 and out, punt. And then the next possession, an interception. Like that's how the defense played after the start. After Dan Campbell put them in that position of a 4th down conversion that was unfailed, and then they had 34 yards to go. They literally forced a field goal. They forced a 3 and out, another punt in a 4-play punt. It looks like that's essentially a 3 and out too. Oh no, that was a lot longer than 3 and out. But essentially a punt and then an interception. And then that's the end of the first half. Like as much as you're sitting there and you're like in the first half, oh, this is a disaster. They started off with the short field, 34 yards for a touchdown, forced a field goal, and then 3 straight punts essentially. Like that's big time from your defense to start the game after going down 10-0 and getting put in that position. That's big time. And then you go look at the second half. They give up the touchdown in the long drive to start the second half. And then right after that, bend, don't break, fellas, right? We say it. Bend, don't break. Field goal, punt. That's it. So as much as you see 29 on that scoreboard there, the defense, they gave up a touchdown to start the first half, a touchdown to start the second half, and then it was just punts and a couple field goals, and that was it. Like they held their ground at times, and they bent all right. They didn't break though. And then you got to think about like the Ivan Pace, like the Ivan Pace touchdown of fumble recovery for a touchdown. Like that's in that 29 as well. So your defense essentially like only gave up what would that
23.
be? 23 points. And then you have to think about you have to think about the things like Dan Campbell putting them in the position where the Vikings to open the game with the momentum of getting a 4th down conversion, stop, 34 yards to go. Your offense goes out there. Defense is kind of coming in. Just start the game like that with the short field. That's tough. That's tough. And then they go get the Aaron Jones touchdown and his touchdown run. And that's it. Like outside of that Aaron Jones touchdown run and the Ivan Pace thing, guys, this game would have been a 2-possession blowout. And then like think about if Dan would have punted it instead of going for it. You're probably getting it's a field goal or a stop there. Because your defense, the whole half outside of that, was all game long, forcing field goals and forcing 3 and outs. So I think the defense, like when you do look at it a little bit more, they without Aiden Hutchinson, it was like, okay, there is life. Like these linebackers, guys, Anzo, Jack, Rodrigo, and then if you want to throw Nowatzki in there too, those guys were elite. Like they each had like 7+ tackles. I can name it off here right now. Like you have Anzo. Where's Anzo? Anzo with 8 tackles, Malcolm 7, Jack 7, Trevor 5. Like they are four of your top 5 tacklers on the team on Sunday were your linebackers. They played elite. The secondary, the safeties played elite. Like, this team, guys, we're gonna get into it, but you figure out a way to fix this pass rush or just patch it up. This defense just keeps getting better and better. They're learning.
I mean, I will say before we get to who the Lions should bring in and whether they should bring in another player to help out on the edge. I thought the defensive line play, like there's 2 ways to look at this, and I don't really fault either way you look at it. Linebacker play, very solid. Linebacker play, Trevor Nowatzki, you named them all. That played very well. You had 4 sacks, 3 came from your linebackers. You could say, well, you know what? That's impressive. The other side is, 3 of your 4 sacks were not from any of your defensive linemen. It came from 3 of your linebackers. So AG figuring out a way to still rush the passer, yeah, that's a good thing. But moving forward, do I want linebackers to get a majority of this? You're going to need some help here, okay? And Ali McNeil and DJ Reader can only do so much because they need help as well. And Josh had a sack, so credit to him, but he's a little banged up. It's clear to me they can't rush 4 and get consistent pressure. Like, and that's the thing you had with Hutch is such a beast that you can rush 4. And honestly, Hutch will do most of the work, and guys just kind of eat off of him, essentially. Now you don't have him, and you had Isaac Uku playing a ton of snaps. You had Josh Pascal playing a ton of snaps. Like that's not going to get the job done. It's just not moving like long term. But what'd you make of the defensive line play? Because Sam Darnold, you watched that game, he had plenty of time to throw. Like there was times where, and Dan even said, I have to go back and watch, but there was times where Dan even said, he said himself, I'm sitting there going, he's got a lot of time. Like, and you're not setting your corners up for success there because now they have to stay in coverage longer. I thought the defensive line play was all right. You could see the lack of Aiden's presence in the run game, to Klotzy's point. Not that him single-handedly, but he sets the edge. Those outside runs, like the Vikings knew what they were doing. Like Aiden's out. They got 2 new guys on the edge. We're running to the edge. Like we're not running up the middle, and it worked. So what'd you guys make of the defensive line play? Because they got the job done, but a little concerning, I think, moving forward without Hutch. They got to add somebody.
I don't think that's a defense you can expect to win a Super Bowl with. Like they played great this weekend. Like that, I don't want to take that away from, but consistently to expect that defense to play like that and that offense to play like that every week is just too much because that offense played great. But to Booner's point, like there's going to be weeks where Jared Goff does not play like how he has been. He's going to have down weeks. And when that offense plays down, that defense has to step up and make plays. And I don't think they can consistently do so in big moments against teams like, for example, like the Packers. Like the Packers, Josh Jacobs is the 3rd or 4th leading rusher right now, and they have multiple weapons. If you give Jordan Love the time, I think that would be a day where if the Detroit Lions offense doesn't show up, the Detroit Lions are just going to get exposed. Not on the like, well, oh my God, the Detroit Lions suck, but that's going to be the key factor because if you give any quarterback time in the NFL, he's going to be better. If you give elite quarterback time, they're going to be playing elite and be winning those games. So when you look at it, great game Sunday, but you have to Booner's point, as a Darius Smith, a guy who can just put on pressure so Liam and DJ can get interior pressure. But there's multiple times where even like Sam Darnold is stepping up in the pocket and running because there's no edge contained. You can step up and just go because there's nobody on the end to get him. And when you have that, when you go into the playoffs, especially because his defensive line is going to suffer more injuries. We saw multiple times Josh Pascal go down. Once those guys, the tweeners, start to go out, there's no way you can look at this defensive line and be like, yep, they're going to help us win a Super Bowl. I think that will be the one thing that's holding you back from winning a Super Bowl. And if you don't add somebody, there's going to be issues later in the season when it matters the most. And I would hate to see that. I don't think you can go and win a Super Bowl. You can win the division. You can be the number 1 seed in the NFC. But when it counts the most, the glaring issue at the defensive end spot will show. And it will be just, it'll hurt even more because one, you had one with Aiden Hutchinson. You had one with Marcus Davenport. You now have an opportunity to go and replace them. And if you don't do that, that's costing a huge Super Bowl opportunity during this quote-unquote window.
Yeah, I do like Klotz. I love that because I do think like the pass rush, you saw some guys step up. Like Josh Pascal, Jeff, that was probably his best game, I would say, obviously of the season. You could say over his career, the last couple of years, you could say that was Josh Pascal's best game. But you did see him a couple times on the ground hurt. And that's where you're like, you start to think a little bit. What if that turns into a couple games? What if Josh gets beat up? Levi O, I don't really he didn't show up a lot like yesterday. I didn't really hear his name or see him around that much yesterday. But if he kind of steps up, okay, you have something there. DJ Reader and Aleem, you always know what you're getting out of them. So your interior is rock solid, especially with Levi O as well. It's the edge, and obviously you were able to do what you did defensively, and I didn't think it was as bad as what the score looked like yesterday defensively and what people thought. I think the only bad part about it, and then I think everyone felt the same way, is the takeaway, if you want to take a negative away from yesterday's game, is like Sam Darnold had all day at times. Like I would love to go see some plays and see, like, take a stopwatch. All right, let's see how long he had to throw, because there were times that Sam Darnold just stood there, and like it was like, you guys remember last year when I always got mad at the defensive line to where they would pursue and they would go super hard for the first 2 or 3 seconds, and then they would just stop and stand, and they would just push and stop and stand, and they're just looking, and it's like, dude, what do you like? That's the difference between those guys, some of these guys, and Aiden Hutchinson. Is Aiden Hutchinson relentlessly pursues the quarterback and doesn't stop. And when he's out there, it sets the tone. And now you have some of these guys last year who didn't have that, maybe that motor, but they're still elite, and they can at times. And you could see it on Sunday. Like you saw that, you were like, they're just giving Sam Darnold all day. Like outside of like Aleem is always going, but some other guys, that's like, why are we slowing down? And you saw AG guys, like, I tried to pull it up. I couldn't. And I don't know why it's not loading. I wanted to see how many times Brian Branch was at the nickel yesterday, because he was in the backfield a ton. They were bringing him a ton. They were bringing – I think I saw Meek out in the backfield a couple times. You saw Rodrigo, Jack Campbell, like Anzo, you Nowaski. Like you saw everyone. Like this is on that. But you can't. No, but that's exactly what I was saying last week, was this is what AG is going to do. And that's what he's going to do until a replacement comes in. And now if you go get, say as Zadarius Smith comes in, guess what that means? You just have to take that scheme away a little bit more from, the linebackers. Like now you don't need to rely on it as much. And once you take that away a little bit and you're able to actually feel a little more comfortable and not give a quarterback 50 seconds to throw the ball, then it's like, okay, now this, like, think about how good this defense was at times yesterday without that. Now you just add Zadarius Smith, or if there's some miracle, Myles Garrett or Max Crosby. Now you're sitting there and you're like, who is beating the Lions team? Nobody. Nobody will beat this team. Because I already feel like even if you don't get someone, that you're going to, like, this Lions team's able to scheme things up to be able to beat you no matter what. Like, find a way to grind this thing out. Now, if you add someone else, if you add a piece or two, I do think it's a must. Like I do think it's like you have to do it, because you want to give yourself the best chance to win always. And I think Brad will do it. I honestly, guys, clip me now. I think within the next 24 hours, you're going to see a deal done with the Detroit Lions and the pass rusher. I do believe that. I think Brad's been doing his homework, and I think I said it last week. Tuesday, Baker just threw a terrible pick. Tuesday is typically those days during game weeks where you see things happen, because things settle down Monday, and then Tuesday is like right before the whole week starts of preparation and practice. Get things going on Tuesday. Within the next 24 hours, would not be shocked. It'll either be this Tuesday, tomorrow, or it'll be next Tuesday.
Better be, because I think, what is it? The trade deadline is in 2 weeks.
I think it's 2 weeks away now. Let me double check.
Then after think about those 2 games after. So you have the Tennessee Titans, you have the Green Bay Packers, but then after that you have C.J. Stroud on, like to your point, Booner, on Monday Night Football. Give C.J. Stroud time to throw it home. I know they don't have Nico Collins, but you'll see one of those games where it's just like, good God, because they have a good offensive line and they have Joe Mixon to go with it. So that's one of those things where the Lions, they can still win games, but in crucial moments, that'll show.
Yeah, I agree with that take.
November 5th.
They do need some help here. And again, at least at the very minimum, like a Zadarius Smith. That I've said that just at the very minimum. Not is that going to patch everything up? No, they're going to need more, and that's why I've been advocating. We all have for Max Crosby, even though it's unrealistic. He is the big fish. He is the guy that would close the gap from losing Aiden. Now, if you get Zadarius, like Zadarius with Myles Garrett right now, hasn't really been otherworldly. So it's not like coming here with no hutch he's just automatically going to take a jump and be amazing. So they do need some more.
But it's something, you just need something.
Yeah, they do need something. They need depth. And to have Isaac Ukwu out there, which again,
Bobby Woo-woo.
And he is solid. But for a guy that was on your practice squad, now he's starting for the rest. If he starts for the rest of the year, that's a problem. It can't happen. And that's no offense. That's no offense to him. But they just can't.
I would give up.
What were you gonna say?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, that's okay. I would just say I would give up multiple picks to get two guys. I'll give up a third, a fourth, a fifth, and go get two different guys that can just be solid.
I would even be willing, depending on who it is, I would be willing to give up multiple firsts for a play like Max Crosby or something like that. I really don't care, because if you have Max Crosby and Aiden Hutchinson, the whole mortgaging the future for one player, I think there's a couple players around the NFL at specific positions that is not mortgaging the future if you go all in and get them. The Raiders lost again this weekend. Max Crosby, Antonio Pierce, if he keeps it up, is going to be fired at the end of the year. So there's going to be a head coaching change. There's an opportunity. I think it's not you can't blame Brad if it doesn't happen, but you have to do everything you can to go get a player like that, because that guarantees you, in my opinion, offense keeps it up. A Super Bowl this year, and what happens next year when you have Max Crosby too? That's not mortgaging the future. It's not at all. When you look at the 49ers right now, who the Lions, I think you're going to compare them to a build. That's what the Lions, that when you look at just how they run their offenses, the scheme that they run, and just how they have multiple players everywhere. The 49ers, they went out and signed Trent Williams, traded whatever it was, and then they traded for Christian McCaffrey, another elite player. And that's what the core of their offense right now. Understands the defense side of the ball, but they trade for megastars. And if you want to keep that window open with oh my God, this is the more talented team, there's no doubt about it, you go and make a move like that, in my opinion. It's not Max Crosby, but it's go get Max Crosby at all costs, in my opinion.
So I'll say this too, and I was one of the ones, the Myles Garrett thing, I didn't think it was real. I was there's no way it felt like they would ever happen. I just didn't think the Browns would ever give up Myles Garrett. There has now been rumors today. It's been reported that multiple teams, and the Browns are listening. Multiple teams are putting offers.
I think Brad's one of them.
Oh yes, 100%. If he's not, that's a problem. But and again, I trust Brad. But I do think Brad is definitely one of those guys. And I honestly, the only reason I thought it was done is I just didn't think about the Browns. Yeah, he's expensive, but I guess it's a similar thing. They've always, Myles Garrett is Cleveland. It's tough to see him somewhere else, and it's tougher to see a team like Cleveland to move on from Myles Garrett when he's literally the heart of your team. It's the same thing, I guess, with the Raiders and Max, except you just saw Devontae get traded. But with the Browns, it's now Deshaun Watson's out for the year. You're done. The season is completely done. They're at a spot. It's different than the Raiders, because now they're at a spot to where they have to, for sure, without a question, their quarterback just went down for the whole year. They need as many picks as they can, and they need to tear everything up. They're at a point to where it's that whole Browns run that they had where they went to the playoffs and all, it's over. Myles Garrett, he's done. All of that is done there. Nick Chubb, he's not going to be a Brown in a couple. Whenever his contract's up, I bet you they don't resign him. Everyone there that we've ever seen a Brown the last 5 years, gone. They need to redo that whole team.
They re-signed Njoku though. They're good.
Oh yeah, they'll do it. But now, if people are if they're seriously taking offers, I'm reading it here. It's multiple NFL teams have made trade inquiries for Browns All-Pro pass rusher Myles Garrett. It looks like it was SI. That's big, and I'm guessing the Lions put in an offer too. And I think
about Za'Darius, they're gonna want to heads up about Myles Garrett too.
Yeah, I would think you hey, if you need, I think Dan's or Brad's at a spot to where typically you're remember last year, who was it? What was the player? Oh, was it Chase Young? He talked about the Chase Young trade, and he was we put an offer in. They wanted this year's second or whatever, third, whatever he ended up going to the 49ers for. And he's I wasn't willing to give up this year's. It was I wanted to give up a future, and they wouldn't do that. If I'm Brad this year, if a team's outbidding you like that, do it. One up them. If a team's offering a second or in the third, throw in a first and a second and be we'll take them.
Even free agency, you're not in a stressful spot. The only thing that I think the Lions are going to be stressing about this offseason, if you make a move like that, is offensive line depth. And I think when you look at free agency, all these veteran offensive linemen, what do they want to do? When they're getting off expiring contracts, they want to go win. Who would you rather play for right now than the Detroit Lions and that offensive line? So free agency, the Lions are going to be a spot where they can get guys at a discount. They already have so much young talent. They have their young core. They re-signed their pillars already. Aiden Hutchinson's going to be due here pretty soon. Brian Branch is on a rookie contract. Like right now, as far as the Lions go, they don't need to be drafting more All-Pros. They need to be drafting guys. Well, it'd be awesome if they draft more All-Pros. Don't get me wrong. But they need to draft for the weaknesses of the team, and you can do that through all the later rounds. We've seen multiple times where Brad Holmes is drafting these project type of players, and you need them right now. Like, I love Vaki. I love what Manu can be potentially. But now if you're drafting a defensive end there, he could be playing right now. So I think if you get guys that you could use in the future right now, you do it in free agency, and that's with Max Crosby, and that's with the guys in the coming off veteran contracts. Go and get guys that can contribute now, and that's these defensive ends.
Yeah, I'm with you, Klotzy. You have to. It's all in the next 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, I mean, I've already made my thoughts very clear on this. Like, I understand being like, and I got to watch because people get offended. I understand, but being conservative, and I get like, and not that Brad's been very conservative, but I understand that his biggest people would agree. Biggest weapon is the draft for Brad. He's very well at drafting players. But here's the thing that Brad has to think about too. You've drafted a stacked roster. Like, there's not really any holes on this team. The depth is off the charts. They have depth at every position, essentially, except for defensive end right now because of injuries. But when healthy, they do. They have a lot of depth. If I'm Brad, and I'm looking forward, I'm going, okay, if we can get a big fish right now, and I have to give up, let's say it's Myles Garrett or Max Crosby, hypothetically, 2-3 first-round picks. I'm doing it. Like, I'm just doing it. Because
3 is a lot. Three is.
But here's the thing.
Are we really doing 3?
I don't give a damn. I don't give a damn.
Here's where I'm at with it. Let me explain. So Brad's done a good job.
3 is insane. That's your future.
3 first-round picks or a Super Bowl, Booner.
I would take the Super Bowl, but again, what was the word I said last? What was the word I said last week? Do you guys remember?
Okay.
Starts with a D.
Dynasty.
Yes, I would want a dynasty. I want a dynasty.
Continue, Jeff.
Okay, let me just finish real quick. So I understand that, but here's the thing: if I'm Brad Holmes and you have a chance to get Max Crosby or Myles Garrett, and I have to give away 2 or 3 first-round picks, whatever it is, me personally, I'm doing it because you're getting. I'll tell you this. If you can find Max Crosby or Myles Garrett at pick 30 to 32, God bless you. I mean, you should go in the Hall of Fame of GMs because you know how difficult that is? Like, to find a Myles Garrett or a Max Crosby. Now, Max Crosby was drafted in the 4th round. My point exactly. Brad will still have those picks. He will have every pick, essentially, but a first if you have to give up 2 or 3. And he can find talent. He found Amon-Ra in the 4th. He found Kirby in the 3rd. He found Brian Branch and Sam Laporta in the 2nd. Like, he can do it. And you're not going to be picking 2 to draft an Aiden Hutchinson. Like, so that's where I'm coming from. Is a late first. And maybe if you're looking at it from the Raiders side or Brown side, maybe they're like, hey, I don't want a late first. I don't want to trade to the Lions unless they force their way there. But you get my point, guys. That's where I'm at with it. A late first round pick. Are you going to draft a Max Crosby player or a Myles Garrett type of player?
No.
Probably not. And I'll take the proven talent to go chase a Super Bowl. People. I get it. You always want to continue to draft talent, but people act like it's like trade every round of the next 3 years for a player. You have Brad can find talent past the first round. He's proven it year to year. So I'm not sweating first round picks. Not saying if they trade the next 5-7 first round picks, but 2 to 3, they will be competing for a Super Bowl for the next 2 to 3. Like, so it's not going to really matter in my eyes. That's where I'm at with it, fellas. I mean, and I've already made that pretty clear, but I'm open. If you could get those guys, is it realistic? More so Max Crosby, because he would have to force his way out, and I think he's close. Like, he's close to cracking. I really do. He's close, and that's why I keep making content. I keep staying consistent. We're going to get him to crack, but it's probably Zadarius Smith. Like, it probably is. I mean, it just is. So be prepared for that.
Real quick, can I just ask you guys a question? This is off topic. I just need some advice here.
Yeah, Boone.
Never mind. Move on. It went away.
Move on. No, but kind of going back to the discussion we were having, Boone, about as far as like can't even say the word.
Here we go.
Giving up the future. I'm not even trying to say the word. Giving up the future with 3 first-round picks. I don't think it's like that at all, because if you get a player like Max Crosby, he's under contract for 2 more years. That's 2 more, like you're going to the NFC Championship, because I think when you look at it, like those 2 first-round picks of just one, you can play Max Crosby highlights, and you can pick a Brian Brandt, Sam Laporta, whoever you want in the 2nd, 3rd, 4th round. That's where the core of this team outside of Aiden Hutchinson and Penei Sewell has been built in the later rounds of this draft. So I think if you give up even 3 first-round picks, I do not care, because that's guaranteeing 1 Super Bowl. I know we want the dynasty, but, I mean, look at the Kansas City Chiefs. It's kind of astounding to see them go back-to-back. So if the Kansas City Chiefs are able to do it with Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, and Steve Spagnuolo, the Lions don't have that. But getting a player like Max Crosby and Aiden Hutchinson alongside each other, those 2 can game wreck that scheme over there in Kansas City. So give that to me over 3 first-round picks.
Yeah, you know what? This is the thing I think, honestly, guys. I'm just going to be honest with you. None of these guys are going to cost 3 first anyways. Like, they won't. I don't even know if they're going to cost 2. Again, there was a conversation I listened to with Valeni, and he talked to Boomer Esiason, and he mentioned, like, I'm not giving up 3. And Boomer was like, hey, it's not going to cost 3 for them. Like, it just won't. Like, they're at a point, like, say Max wants out, they're at a point to where it's like, how much, like, the Raiders do have leverage, but 3 first rounds, they don't have that much leverage for a guy that doesn't want to be there. And it's the same with Myles Garrett in Cleveland. Like, there's no way that Cleveland can ask for 3 first rounds for Myles Garrett. You can't. So I think it ends up like, and I'm with you guys. I'm in. Like, yeah, if you want to give up a first, okay, a first and a second, I would do it so fast, because Brad has been so good. Like, Brad has been one of the best probably in the NFL at getting talent even outside of the first round. You see Amon-Ra, what he's doing. You have the best safety duo in the NFL. Guess what? Neither of those guys are first round picks. 2nd round, and what is Kirby? 5th round? Like, you have guys that are just outside late picks that are dominating for your team right now. You have David Montgomery, who got in free agency. Tim Patrick, you got off a training camp cut. Like, Brad is so good at building a team anyways. I'm willing to give up first round picks. 3, yeah, that's a lot. And I think that conversation, I guess I don't think that's even, like, I don't think that would ever have to happen. But, like, if it's like a first and a second,
would you do it for 2?
Yeah, I would do it for 2.
Okay,
I would do it for 2.
It
It depends on, like, the contract and everything and how it looks, how many years you're keeping them for. I think 2, I would be like, I would hate it. I would be like, oh, that's tough. Like, 2 first rounds, that's tough. Look at your first round picks. You know, Terrion, Penei,
but as soon as
Hutch,
he plays,
Jameer. Like, no, really, like, oh, guys, Max is Max, yeah. But, like,
you'd be
you also do have, like, your first round picks. Guess what? You have Aiden Hutchinson, the best defense
number 2
in the NFL. I don't care. Let's not talk about numbers. We're just talking about first. I get it, but we're talking about first round. I'm just naming Brad Holmes' first round picks, all of them. Terrion, who can be a really good corner. Jameer, who's probably a top 5 running back. Penei, the best tackle in football. Hutch, the best defensive end in football. And I know top 5, top 10. Yeah, I get it.
That fits my argument. That's why
it does. It's going to be a later first round. It's essentially a second. But I'm just saying, like, but Jeff, Brad can turn a first and a second into and trade up like he did with Jameer and go get, or he traded back for Jameer, but trade up like he did with J-Mo.
Yeah,
like what we did with J-Mo, and go get someone like Jameson Williams, who is one of the most explosive players. I know what you're saying. I'm with you. I'm like, I agree. I think we agree with each other. Yeah, it's just, it would be like 2 first. I'd be like,
get all in, Boone. Stop trying to find
all in. Get all in.
I just know it's tough. Like, I don't want to set myself up to be disappointed.
No, it's not. You can't be. You can't be set. It's not about set. Because listen, is it realistic? I think it is. Will it happen? I don't give a fuck. It could. It could not. I'm still going to say I want him, and I don't care what it costs. 2 first. Get it done. Get it done. He's better. He'll be. And this is the thing I always bring up, guys. The NFL is not. It's a year-to-year league. Like and this is what I think fans struggle with, because it's like, you know, if they lose, and that's why Dan talked to the team after last year and was like, guys, it's going to be harder to get here next year. Like, it's just the reality. Every year it's different. Like this year, Hutch went down. You know, like, you can't predict these things. Next year, Goff could go down. Hopefully he doesn't. Knock on wood. But anything could happen. That's why when you have an opening, or maybe I don't know if there is an opening for Max, but let's say there is, you have to go just get it done. Not saying you have to be irresponsible and do it, but if it's the right deal, just get it done. Because like Klotz said earlier, if you win a Super Bowl, like you'll be fine. You'll be fine. But hey, we'll see. Brad's going to be aggressive. He's making the phone calls. Hassan Reddick's back with the Jets. He's off. No more talking to Hassan Reddick. But maybe Zadarius Smith comes here. Maybe another piece comes here. Maybe Max Crosby comes here. I pray to the football gods. I do. I pray to the football gods. Right now, speaking of Super Bowl, should the Lions be favorites at this point? I just want to ask you guys. Favorites?
You look around the landscape, and I'll just say the top 5 teams that were in our power rankings. I know the order was different, but it was pretty much Lions, Vikings, Texans, Chiefs. You guys had the Ravens, but I had the Packers. You look at the Texans, they lost this weekend. The Chiefs, they're winning, but it is very ugly. And then you look at the Packers, okay, that's definitely a reputable team. I think they're pretty much on par. We'll see going into the season. But then we just talk about, like, the Ravens right now, their defense is fraudulent. Like, if the Lions were to play the Ravens right now, the Lions would have the better defense even with Aiden Hutchinson out. And I think their offense would be able to put up more points consistently. Head-to-head right now, the Lions are the best team in the NFL. I don't know if we'll be able to say that in 2 or 3 weeks with how this defense is built if they don't make a trade. But as of right now, the Lions should be, because they're in the NFC. That I think they have the clearest route to the Super Bowl. And then if you look at the odds-on favorite to come out of the AFC, it'd probably be, like I said, the Chiefs numerous times. Maybe the Bills. If the Bills and Lions played in the Super Bowl, you can cash that in right now. Like, Lions are winning that. The Ravens, we just talked about. Texans, they have no Nico Collins right now. And even if they did, I think that the Lions, if they make a move, would be able to have the firepower to match the Texans. So I think the Lions, number 1 right now. Number 1.
Yeah, you guys know what I'm going to say. Best team in football. They should. It's shocking to me. And if you do look at the odds, guys, like, if you just pull them up right now, pull them up live. Actually, I don't know if they're going to be up because these games are going. Typically, they take them down during games. No, they have them Super Bowl. The Chiefs plus 450, the Baltimore Ravens plus 650, and then third are the Detroit Lions at plus 750. And again, that's without Aiden Hutchinson. And then you have the Niners, the Bills, the Texans after that. So I know the Chiefs are 6-0. They have Spagnuolo. The Lions, I think if you go head to head right now with the Chiefs, they're beating the Kansas City Chiefs, guys. Like, the Lions are beating the Kansas City Chiefs. If they went and played this Ravens team, I know it's like recency bias of what people saw in what happened last year versus the Ravens. Guys, this is a different Lions team and a different Ravens team. This Lions team would beat the Ravens team. Like, they would beat them. Like, I truly do believe that. Like, I just think that the way they're playing right now, they've scored 30-something last week, 40-something the week before, 40 the game before that, before the bye. Like, they're playing at their best offensively, and that's their weapon. Like, that's like when you see, like, Steph Curry and the Warriors, you're like, well, maybe sometimes they might struggle defensively, but what is their weapon? It's they knock down threes, and they're going to kill you and destroy you and beat you in a series by just shooting threes with Klay Thompson and Steph Curry. That's the Lions in their offense. And when they're playing at their best at that, it is hard to beat them. And right now they're playing at their best. It's shocking. They should be the favorites. They should be. I think the only reason the Chiefs are is because they have Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. That's it. There's nothing else to that.
Yeah, I think at this point, the way they're playing, especially offensively, like, it's hard to count them out. I think it's between them and the Chiefs. I think the Chiefs, the thing that the Lions and Chiefs kind of both have right now going for them is the Lions offensively are a juggernaut. The Chiefs defensively are a juggernaut. Like, they have a very good defense. Like, and that's been a huge part of what they've been doing. And then Mahomes kind of just figures it out, even though he hasn't been playing great. And he still has Andy Reid. So it's tough. I would still give the edge of the Chiefs because of Andy Reid and Mahomes, but they should be like, I don't think the Ravens should be favored over the Lions. Like that, I think it's between the Chiefs and the Lions. I think it's those two teams, given the Chiefs and the way they're finding ways to win, and they still have the two guys that are integral. I mean, I would even say 3 with Spags, the way the defense is playing, that won them the last 2. So favorites, I want to lean Chiefs, but the Lions should be it should be those 2 teams in the Super Bowl. No other team. Ravens, no. Lions should have a better odds of making it than the Ravens. They just do. The Lions actually have the easier path than the Ravens, because the Lions in the NFC are really their own class.
Yeah, the Ravens and the Chiefs, they're going head to head.
Yeah, they're going to go head to head. So I don't know why you'd give. It doesn't make any sense to me. Why would you give better odds to the Ravens who have to face the favorite? Like, it doesn't make any sense. So it's between those two teams. That's going to be the Super Bowl matchup this year. I mean, we said that before the season, and it's looking like that at this point. So
I love it. Let's go. Hey, favorites, baby.
Hey,
man.
This year, well, not this year. Tomorrow we'll be doing our top 10 teams. So
should be interesting.
No,
great
segment.
Where do those Chiefs go, fellas? Where do you think?
I don't know. It depends. Where does the shuffle button put them?
Hey, they were 4 last week, Boone. They were 4 last week.
I don't know. The shuffle button might put them like 20 something. It's crazy. I don't know.
All right, well, let's get to your Kool-Aid jugs, Boone. Let's see. Oh. I'm curious to see who gets them. You know, who gets them this week?
I don't think Boone is ready for it. Pause.
No, he just now he is. He has to lock in. He gets the glasses on. Look at him. Look at him. What is he grabbing?
Get the music ready, Jeff, before he says something.
Hold on. What is he grabbing? Let me see this. Let me get this.
I mean, this guy Jeff just throw. I'm trying to get suited up here, Jeff. What? Get me off camera.
Hey, Boone. I don't know how you like them in the order. But I'm gonna throw them up. You tell me what player it is, and I'll throw it up.
I do have a surprise for everyone.
Shout out Flannel. Shout out the man.
Flannel.
Yeah, shout out Flannel, dude. What a legend.
Flannel,
I do have a surprise for the people today, so hopefully you guys. I don't know. Even the boys don't know about the surprise that I have. Fellas don't even know. All right, give me. Hey, put up whoever you want. Hey, now you can put me up here. Booner's Kool-Aid jugs, Week 7, the Detroit Lions. Hold on. What are we doing here? Hold on. Production. We need to have a.
You just said put up whoever you want.
Hold on. Hey, Booner's Kool-Aid's Week 7 presented by Real American Beer, the best beer in the country, baby. Go try it. Here, ready?
Oh my God.
And some Kool-Aid.
Bro, I wonder what his acid reflux and heart
so
like
good.
after the show.
All right, give me my first one, Jeff Iafrate. First Kool-Aid bucket or jug of the week goes to the one and only Klotz. Give you all the credit in the world for this, man. RB1, as you said, Jahmyr Gibbs. Sonic, as they call him now, 160 rushing yards, 44 receiving yards, 2 total touchdowns. Guys, 8.5 yards per carry. Not carry, sorry, that's rushing. 8.5 yards per touch. Give this man the ball. He'll almost get you a first down every single time. Every time. 160 all-purpose yards yesterday. Big time game from the running back Jahmyr Gibbs. Guys, when he's playing like that and D-Mont's playing like he has the last few weeks, this running back duo is untouchable. No one can touch them. They're both going to have 1,000. They both might have like 1,100, 1,200 all-purpose yards on the season. They're both going to have double-digit touchdowns. No one's stopping them. Sonic had his night yesterday. D-Mont will have his next week, and then Sonic will be back the next week. Jahmyr Gibbs gets the first Kool-Aid bucket. I keep saying bucket. Kool-Aid jug of the week. I keep forgetting, boys. Hey, cheers to Jahmyr.
The next who gets the other one? Here you go. You know what it is? It's like a
throw it up.
It's an MVP.
Throw it up.
MVP candidate, bro.
Hey,
look
how clean that man looks, huh?
Was he? Was he 22 or 55?
Maybe he wasn't 22 or 55. I don't know. I don't care. That man's the best quarterback in the NFL right now. Hey, if you want to argue me that, I saw Skip Bayless say the other day he used to walk down the road. He would walk down anywhere he was at, the beach, the airport. Anyone that wanted to debate him, he would stop and debate them. He just loved the people, he said. And guess what? Anyone who wants to debate me about Jared Goff being the best quarterback in the NFL, I will. Hey, I'll do it right now, here, right now. If you want to do it, I'll do it. This man's the best quarterback in the NFL. Look at the game Patrick Mahomes had. Now look at what Jared Goff had. He wasn't 22 for 55. He was 22 for 25. I have fat fingers. Sue me, okay? 280 yards, 2 touchdowns, 0 turnovers, passer rating out of this world. This man right now is playing the best football out of anyone in the NFL. Any position, any player. Jared Goff is the absolute man. And just like I said earlier, all of you in there that love Hendon Hooker, guess what? That man you're looking at right on our screen right there in the all-white looks super clean. Look at the helmet, the blue face mask. That man right there.
Looks good.
He's going to win you a Lombardi trophy, and you're going to have to be happy about it. Not Hendon Hooker, that man right there. And I can't wait to I can't wait. Super Bowl MVP, regular season MVP. No one can say anything after that. All right, that's Jared Goff. Cheers, Jared Goff, to you. Real American beer. Blue Kool-Aid for you. Give me my next player. And yes, Steve Lehman, Jared Goff over Josh Allen every day. Third player that gets the Kool-Aid jug of the week, sponsored by Real American Beer. That is the best safety currently in the NFL, guys. Hands down. There is not a safety right now, and if you guys want to throw one out there, there's not a safety in the NFL better than Brian Branch. There's not a safety in the NFL better than this man right here. You guys see him, number 32 right there? There is not a safety in the NFL better than him. 4 tackles. I know that doesn't sound crazy. 2 pass deflections, an interception. Mind you, the man should have had a touchdown fumble recovery, ran back for a touchdown. I still think that should have stood. I didn't see that foot on the white line. I don't know if anyone else did. That man's the best player after what he did last week, the 2 interceptions, interception this week. This man, guys, is unbelievable. He is one of the best players in the NFL at his position. Well, he is the best, one of the best defensive players in the NFL right now. Brian Branch gets the third and final Kool-Aid jug of the day. Jeff, you know what? Keep that up real quick. I want to cheers to Brian Branch real quick.
This guy.
Now,
the surprise.
There's a surprise.
Uh-oh.
Brian Branch is not the final Kool-Aid jug of the week, boys.
Oh, he's got one more up his sleeve.
One man in the world deserves a Kool-Aid jug for this week. This man had so many people hating on him in the summer.
Let me guess, Boo. Let me guess.
No guess. No guess. All right, wait. Text me and guess. But this man has had so many people hating on him in the summer. No one wanted this man in the building. I did. Jeff did. But there are people who say, no. He's not good enough for the NFL. He can't play in front of 60,000 people. He can't. He'll fold under pressure. He's going to fold when it comes down to it. Guess what, boys? The man didn't fold. Jake effing Bates gets the final Kool-Aid jug of the week. He might get the one of the year. This man is an absolute legend. Look at him. Look at him. And he hit the boom. What a legend, dude. Jake Bates wins the game. Walk off. Love that man. Dan Campbell said it in the postgame, too. He gave him a game ball. He said, listen, I don't need to give the stats. He might be 10 for 10 on the year. He might have hit a 45-plus yard or whatever it is, game-winning kick. Kool-Aid's getting in my throat. The only stat you need to know for Jake Bates is right there on the screen. Game winner, baby. Jake Bates, final Kool-Aid chug of the week. Hey, Jake Bates, this one's for you. Real American beer for you, baby. Kool-Aid chug for you, baby.
Well-deserved. I mean, all well-deserved.
I mean, the Jake Bates thing, I love it. It came out of nowhere. I love it, though. I thought you were going to forget them.
The yelling. That was a fun time for me. I do enjoy yelling.
You know what? I thought you were going to forget Jake Bates, and you didn't. So, you know what?
I didn't even send him to you. I always send you my players. I was like, I'm not going to send him this one.
I mean, Jake Bates, it's not Jake. It's Jake effing Bates. I mean, that's what it is now. It just is. I saw this. Michael says Booner's intestines are screaming for help. Does that mean, can we confirm or deny that?
To be fair, I've trained everything in my body to control the yelling. I've been doing it for a couple of years now.
Well, he's talking about what you're...
the yelling. He's talking about the beard followed by Kool-Aid, bro.
It's good.
That's still, wow. It's like eating a peanut butter and ranch sandwich. That would just be like, I couldn't imagine what your body's going through.
It's Kool-Aid and it's beer. It's just 2 normal drinks that people love to indulge in.
That's fair. He said, I've trained my body to be able to yell. It's like, wait. How do you, number one, how do you do that? I mean, that's a whole other thing. All right, Michael.
Klotz, can I give out a player count for you right now?
With what?
You won't be mad?
I mean, no. Like, I won't be mad, but like, what do you mean player comp?
Like who I think you look like right now? You look like
Oh,
Rodrigo Blankenship.
Oh, that's fucking. Yeah, we're taking those. Not Rodrigo. That is literally, I think, that's not even with all due respect. Like, it's just facts. The ugliest player I think ever put on a pair of shoulder pads. Like in just Division I NFL history. Like that. I can't even be mad, Boone. Can't even be mad.
That's an insult. That's an insult. That's what that was.
I can't. Hey, it was humorous. I can't even be mad.
Michael asked, start us off with Mailbag. Drop your questions. All right, let's see here. Start us off with Michael. Mailbag, does your opinion of Brad Holmes change if he stands pat at the trade deadline?
Can I be honest, boys? Just trust circle.
Go ahead.
And I'm not calling him a bitch, but that would be a bitchy move to not make a single move. Like that's very complacent. I think if you're a GM of a Super Bowl contender, a team that wants to be contending year in and year out, you have to be aggressive. I don't think that people who stand on the sidelines and don't make plays have that much production. When you look at the guys that are constantly making moves, they're as far as GMs, Chiefs, 49ers, Eagles, when they're having the run, constantly making moves. Obviously, culture thing they missed out on when making those moves. I think Brad will take that into perspective. But if you don't make a move, like, what are you doing? Like, that's like, I think, a clear miss. Even, like, you can't tell me you can't get Zadarius Smith for a 4th-round pick. Like, you can't tell me that. Like, so if you don't do that, if a team's offering a 4th-round pick, okay, then offer a 7th for the next year. Like, you have to find a way to make a move.
I would be disappointed. I would be disappointed. And last year, the people were advocating, I was advocating for an edge. He didn't get it, but you had Aiden. So they were able to kind of piece it together because he had Aiden, and Aiden's amazing. But this year you don't have Aiden. I would be very disappointed. Now, would my opinion of him change? I mean, no. My opinion of him being one of the best GMs in the league would not change. But man, I would be disappointed. I think I would start to lean on the side that he is. I don't know the best word to like describe it, but he's skeptical making moves. I don't know what you would call that. Like he's hesitant. He's nervous. I don't know, to make a move like that. Complete. Yeah, I guess I'm trying to like figure. I don't know what the right word would be, but I would be disappointed. I definitely would. It's not Max Crosby or bust. It's really any move. He doesn't make any move. Then yeah, like your only move to fill the gap of Aiden Hutchinson was Isaiah Thomas. Yeah, I would be disappointed.
Yeah, I do think I would be disappointed. So your opinion of him changed? Stan? I would still feel the same way about Brad Holmes. Like I don't think it would change. I would be like, it's the same thing with like a Jared Goff or Hutch or any like if you have a bad game or you have a bad stretch of football, you're gonna get criticized whether you're the best player in the world or not. So I think there's that side of it. I don't think there's like a Brad Holmes still one of the best drafters in the NFL. He's one of the best GMs. At the end of the day, he's still put together this football team that's probably, whether you make a move or not, in my opinion, you're still going to go to the Super Bowl or have a chance to go to a Super Bowl and compete. I'm not going to say in my mood it's changed. Like, all right, if that happens, think about it long-term, guys. Like, if that does happen, I know you're all in this year. You still have your picks. He's going to go make his picks, and this summer he's going to make a move. You're going to get Hutch back, and then next year you're back in the spot to where it's like, okay, here we go again with more picks. And which I get that you don't want to be in that spot again. You want to continue to win. You want to win a Super Bowl this year, but that's just like my opinion won't change of him. He's still one of the best GMs in the NFL.
It won't. It'll be frustrating because I think the one glaring weakness that Brad has is failing to address the defensive end spot. And I think after, like, we talked about what the IR looks like right now, it's all of your defensive ends that you had as far as you have Aiden Hutchinson, IR, Marcus Davenport, IR, John Kaminsky from time to time. He's like one of those tweeners, but he played a lot on the edge when you do 5-man fronts, IR. And now you're looking at, okay, bring in Isaiah Thomas. And it's like you don't add to the defensive end spot, which you could have done with draft picks. It's starting to be like, okay, Brad, when are we going to figure out that you need to get not a star defensive end, but a serviceable defensive end across from Aiden Hutchinson consistently? Because what happens? Injuries. That's what's happening right now. You signed Marcus Davenport to a 1-year deal because you knew that injury was a factor, and you didn't put a plan B in perspective when Marcus Davenport went down, which you knew was going to happen at some point. It might not have been for a long stretch like what actually happened.
Yeah,
you could have anticipated that Marcus Davenport would have been out. You don't game plan for Aiden Hutchinson being out though as long as he is in that gruesome of an injury, but you needed to have a plan B. And he didn't have a plan B. I think Josh Pascal, that was a great game out of him, but he's not a true bookend. Same thing with Levi Onwuzurike. And like, you need a true bookend to win a Super Bowl. So to be glaring at that weakness right now, straight in the face, and not address it, that's one of those things where it's like, what are we doing? Like, you're an elite GM. No one's denying that. But you have to be able to identify weaknesses and start getting better at it. And I don't think if he just leaves that without anything at the defensive end spot, it's just like staring yourself right at the mirror.
So let me just point this out because you can't call Thomas not a move. It's a guaranteed roster spot. They're going to give him a 2-week run up to the deadline. Okay. Isaiah Thomas, sorry, correction. And I did mention this. That's a move. But if you have faith that Isaiah Thomas can be your defensive end one or be a very good defensive end, I give you all the credit. Then that is not your prerogative to have faith in him. My problem is not with Isaiah Thomas. I think he's a good depth piece. I do. I don't mind it. But to say that he's the solution is blasphemy. I mean, unless you have information that I simply don't have, that could happen. Maybe you have an inside scoop on Isaiah Thomas that I don't have. But based on what we know, that he is not the answer. Okay. So I know, and I'm not saying that you're saying this, but for people that are like, the Isaiah Thomas stuff, like he's a move, but to me, that's depth. They need at least at the very minimum, a Zadarius Smith. Like that is a minimum.
I agree.
Minimum. Like if he does nothing, that is, or excuse me, if he does one move, I'll count Isaiah Thomas. That is still disappointing, and again, I'm not saying you said that, but at the same time, like he made one move, but that ain't, guys, like that's not what we're talking about. Like that's that's a depth piece. That's what he is. Like over under 1.5 sacks this year from Isaiah Thomas. It's like that's what his line set at.
And to be honest, like when you have, and I think like last year was so different because one, you weren't gonna like they said it multiple times they weren't in a spot to chase a Super Bowl, and you didn't have like this year, guys. Like you have Hutch, Marcus Davenport, John Kaminsky, Broderick Martin. I could keep going down the line. Who else am I missing here? Kyle Pecco. Like the amount of guys on that defensive line that got put on the depth chart or on the IR and that are in your depth chart. David Bada at one point, it is insane on that defensive line. And you lost 3 of your top 4 edge rushers. No, actually, essentially, you lost your top 3 edge rushers with the Commish, Hutch, and Marcus Davenport. All 3 out for the year, essentially. Potentially getting the Commish back. But when that happens, you do have to, you have no choice. You have no choice. It's like, whether you want to keep, if you want to keep your picks because you love your picks, that's fine. But, this is one of those situations where it's like, hey, it's like getting in a car accident that you didn't cause, and you're like, oh no, I have to pay this money I wasn't expecting. Like you just have to do it. Like you have to get the job done, and you have to find a way to do it. That's what it is. So I don't honestly, guys, I don't think there's a world we're living in right now where Brad Holmes doesn't make a move. Like I said, I think either this Tuesday or next Tuesday, Brad will make a move.
Let's and I see the Wilson, you fools continue to question Brad. It's like, this is where it gets very tough because he is, and rightfully so, he is like untouchable status where like you can never question him. But I think if there's actually people out there that are like, he doesn't have to make a move. Let's just roll with this roster and we'll be great. Guys, like there's no way you believe that Josh Pascal and Isaac Ukwu are going to get it done. Like
down the fort.
It's just, I refuse. Even if there's people like, yeah, I believe it. No, you don't. There's no way you actually believe that Josh Pascal and Isaac Ukwu are the answers at edge this year. Like even you, Booner, you've been very confident, and you would even admit, no, like that's not the answer.
Brad will, if you're admitting it, guess you're going to be wrong one way or another because Brad's going to make a move. Like Brad will trade for someone, whether and as soon as he does, guess what? Like, don't stand on, I promise you, do not stand on the hill that they don't need to make a trade. Like that's the last thing you want to do.
It's not a hill you should stand on.
Like I don't know if there's someone in the chat that's doing it. I have no clue.
Not just for Max, by the way. any deal.
Anyone. No, there's just any move. It might be a guy we haven't even talked about yet. It's just, I promise you, whether he's a 1-sack guy or a 10-sack guy, Brad Holmes knows he needs to make a move. He will make a move. It's just like in free agency when he knows there's a position of need. Hey, guess what? The corners were terrible last year. Were you going to stand on a hill and say, oh, the Lions don't need a corner?
Bro.
No, you were never going to do that. You were never going to do that. So don't stand on that hill.
Take that shit down. That's fucking absurd.
Hey, I'm not joking. Look at that.
Absurd.
Yeah, that
Klotzy Blankenship.
I mean, Klotz, it's got a hit.
I mean, you guys might be brothers at the end of the day. That's crazy.
It's got a hit to it. I mean, it's got a little hint to it. I'm not going to say it's on point, but it's got a little hint to it. Maybe a shade.
Listen, these were the insurance glasses. We're buying an actual.
All right. I hope they're like even closer. Like you got like the goggles like him. Look how thick the things are on the side of his head.
I mean, the jaw structure, the glasses, the
they're brothers.
I mean, the guy.
I don't even have I can't even say that it's bad. It doesn't look good, but hey, keep the look. I need him.
Oh, you know,
Juice's Ghost said, "Why are you mad? Dude's got a superhero jawline."
Bro, because if you ever see go look up Rodrigo Blankenship in the Colts, him just stand on the sideline, bro. You know what I say about Jeff? What I say about people, and just sometimes you just want to it's not even disrespectful, just slap him to see the reaction. He's one of those things. What would he do? Would he fight back, or is he just gonna accept the slap?
Oh, what a legend! All right, we'll get out of here. Appreciate you all, even for those who are confident in Isaac Buku and Josh Pascal. Still love you. I love you all. All right, we'll see you tomorrow.
Wait, can we stay live for 2 more minutes, bro? Can we please, bro?
Why?
I've got another one here. This is a good one. Can we or no? Is it? Are we?
Yeah,
is it
I'm fine with the phone.
I just there's one here that I'm like, oh my gosh, I think I have to throw this up. I think I have to. I have to remake this. So I just have to add this new guy in. I kind of like this game. Hey, find who Klotzy looks like. This is a.
No, this is not. He has to create the graphic too. So this is.
Yeah, I mean, right? I have to make sure I have to make sure we're all good here. We have to get the setup here. Hold on, this is going to be tough for Klotzy. I hope he doesn't hate this one.
Oh no, he's.
I already think I know what he's gonna do, and you better not do that one.
What?
I already know.
Come on, brother. It's almost done. I'm exporting it now.
Okay.
Is it a player?
I'm exporting it now. I don't know, Klotzy. Jeff, I'm about to send it to you.
All right. Let's see what this is.
I like this game. It's like what are the games when you were a kid, with the Guess Who? That's what we're playing right now.
All right, Klotz. Look away, Klotz. This is and now look. I mean, the haircut is similar. I mean,
that might be his little brother. That might look. Is Klotzy frozen right now?
Yeah, I think he just. I think he's just giving up.
That's the worst thing. That's the worst thing you could have ever possibly done.
Is that big bro? Big bro, little bro?
Little bro, brother.
You'd have to add 70 pounds on me.
Oh, that's why it's your little brother, you know?
Yeah.
No. It's just anybody with short hair and glasses at this point.
Yeah, even Wilson says, which one's Klotz? I mean, we
don't know.
All right. Hey, good stuff.
I would get canceled for the things I want to say right now.
Okay, well, let's get out of here before we get
all right,
appreciate it. We're going to drive. Hey, remember, monetization.
Bro, what did you just say? What did Jeff just say? That was crazy.
I can't say it.
Dude said,
monetization we can apply tomorrow. So no,
let's go, baby.
No
Members might be back soon.
We'll be back tomorrow, 8:00. Be there. Until then, get your merchandise, officialctsports.com. We'll catch you guys. Stay blessed out there. See ya.